I hope you're ready for this. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie, and it's not too late to turn back. No hard feelings. After my last Rant review was so well received, I let you guys vote on the next book that I would holler about, and you chose the TikTok darling, Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. Thanks. But also, are we good? I first heard about this book from TikTok. Everybody over there loves this book. It's a dark stalker romance. But I knew that it had gone too far when Hannah sent it to me. Hannah doesn't even use TikTok. And it found her. She was like, we gotta read it. So we did. And I have a lot of thoughts. I hope y'all like long content. Before we jump into the deep end with no floaties, I would like to pop some disclaimers up here. Number one, this video will contain spoilers. My goal is to ruin it for you so that you can satisfy your morbid curiosity without having to actually put yourself through it. You're welcome. I love you. I hate this book. I love you. There will be negative opinions, dramatic readings, and general shit talking on top of the spoilers. So if none of that interests you, I know for a fact that there are several people reviewing this book singing its praises. And, you know, no hard feelings, but yeah, it's okay. Number two, apparently there was a little bit of controversy surrounding this book at one time, dealing with anti-Semitism. I couldn't find much on this, but from what I gathered, H.D. Carlton was called out by a TikTok user. Carlton apologized to the Jewish community and promised to make appropriate changes to show accountability. I'm not Jewish, so this is not my apology to accept. I just wanted to throw it out there in case you are Jewish and don't feel like dealing with this kind of bullshit today. Number three, I would like to speak directly to the dark romance people who have inevitably found their way here. I want to clarify that I'm not coming for your genre. At this point, I think I'm a fan of the genre. I haven't found any well-written books in the dark romance genre, but I only started my account last year, so there's plenty of time. I am also an avid supporter of reading what you want to read and liking what you want to like, as long as you're not harming anyone else. I understand what dark romance means. I also understand that with dark romance, we should expect some darker, heavier subject matter and themes when it comes to our love interest or our main characters or the story in general. I understand that. I also understand that being into these types of things and reading and enjoying these types of books does not mean that you are condoning this type of behavior. I wanted to reiterate up front that I will be making fun of this book today. And I don't want you to take anything personally because, one, it's not personal. Two, everything I just said. And three, who gives a shit what I think? Don't. Last disclaimer, I think this is an abuse romance book where our main character, Adeline, is stalked, harassed, AR'd, and essayed throughout the book. I'll get into it a little bit more when we get to the trigger warnings part of this whole thing, but please know that I will be reading some excerpts, and I want you to take care of yourself first. I don't want anybody having a tough time if it can be avoided. So without further ado, let's get into the details of this book. Haunting Adeline is book one of the Cat and Mouse duet by H.D. Carlton. It is 583 pages. It could have been 200 pages. And it's classified as spicy, dark, stalker romance. I would classify it as abuse romance, because that's what this is. That's what's going on. We'll get to it. The second book is called Hunting Adeline, and I have not read it. There's also a prequel novella called Satan's Affair that I have not read also. Will I read them? That's a tough one. I may consider it if you sign up for my Patreon. Integrated marketing. One upsetting tragedy at a time, please. The only synopsis or anything resembling a synopsis that I could find reads, The Manipulator, Adeline, socially awkward but wildly successful author. I can manipulate the emotions of anyone who lets me. Wait, I have to get through it first. I can manipulate the emotions of anyone who lets me. I will make you hurt, make you cry, make you laugh, and sigh. Come on, get it together, get it together, get it together. But my words don't affect him. Oh God, especially not when I plead for him to leave. He's always there, watching and waiting, and I can never look away. Not when I want him to come closer. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And under that, this is the synopsis, okay? It tells you nothing. The Shadow, aka Zayd, the stalker turned lover, criminal, shitty guy. I didn't mean to fall in love, but now that I have, I can't stay away. I'm mesmerized by her smile, by her eyes, and the way she moves, the way she undresses. I'll keep watching and waiting until I can make her mine. And once she is, I'll never let her go. Not even when she begs me to. It's rough. It's rough. The book features a dual POV between Zaid, the shadow, and Adeline, the manipulator, which, I gotta tell you, the manipulator thing, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. We find out later in the book that she gave herself this nickname. First of all, you can't give yourself a nickname. Second of all, it's referring to her writing. She's an author, so she manipulates worlds and she is stupid and not manipulative in the slightest. I'd hate to read her books. But also, just the first line of the synopsis, I can manipulate anyone who lets me. Well, that's not manipulation then. That's them letting you do something. Like, I can steal anything from anyone if they let me have it. That's not stealing! I'm sorry, I can't yell this soon. Anyway, dual POV between Adeline, the manipulator, and Zaid, the love interest, aka the shadow. Adeline is annoying as shit. I swear to God. She loves spooky things, scary things, danger, adrenaline, and all things black, which is why I'm wearing my bat shirt today. All black everything. She's an edgy bitch. If I didn't say it right now, Carlton says it all the time. Not in so many words. She says it in a lot more words. It's painful. Speaking of Carlton, I can't decide if this is self-insert, but it feels like it to me, but more about that later. Next, we have Zaid, a self-employed, unstoppable. What is wrong with me? I don't know. This book has taken so much from me. He's a self-employed, unstoppable vigilante hacker guy who hunts down PDF file rings by any means necessary. He's also a stalker and rapist, murderer with heterochromia and a scar across his face. Hot. Those of you who've read the book might have noticed my lipstick. There's also a story within a story that doesn't matter because who cares? At the end of each chapter, we get this super well-designed, not at all tacky journal entry from the 40s. We find out through reading that the journals belong to Adeline's great-grandma Gigi, who was also in love with a stalker. And she ended every journal entry with a staple red lipstick kiss. Gigi hid these journals in a safe inside the walls of Parsons Manor. Adeline discovers them. It's a whole thing. What is Parsons Manor? Great question. It's a rickety old house that Adeline inherited from her nana. It's been in the family for generations. It's supposedly haunted. I'm gonna go ahead and crush your hopes and dreams. I love a ghost story. Love ghosts. I thought we would get more of the haunting ghost aspect of this. We don't. There's barely anything at all. And Parsons Manor is mainly where Zaid stalks, harasses, and assaults Adeline. So cute. So we've arrived at the trigger warning section, and I'm going to break these down in several different ways. The main 3 trigger warnings that Storygraph listed were stalking, sexual assault, and sexual content. Here are all of them that were listed on Storygraph, but there were only 3 that made the cut. Just weird. My battery's gonna die already. My phone wants to die, and so do I. The version of Haunting Adeline that I read had a very short author's note with these trigger warnings, but I've seen a couple different versions, so I'm going to read the more updated one that I found. None of these conspiracies derive from a belief in anti-Semitism or QAnon, but from my own demented imagination, common conspiracies in the media, and many occult horror movies my dad used to watch growing up. Oh yeah, I forgot. This is QAnon fanfic. This book ends on a cliffhanger. The contents are very dark with triggering situations such as non and dub con between the main characters, graphic violence, human trafficking, child sacrifice, mentions of child death, explicit sexual situations. There are also particular kinks such as gunplay, somnophilia, having sex with someone while they're asleep, bondage, breath play, and degradation. This book was previously taken down due to the warning, but you can also find them in reviews, my website, or message me directly. Your mental health matters. While I appreciate the clarification in this updated note and the trigger warnings and the mental health matters thing, I still have some issues because I'm an asshole. Do not go into this book thinking that the PDF file rings are just background noise and they will only be mentioned or alluded to. There are chapters detailing these things, these busts that Zaid does, and the author is incredibly heavy-handed when it comes to writing about the PDF file rings and the violence that these children deal with. It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't have to. That's another thing that I should have put in my disclaimers. You don't need your brain for this. You know that episode of SpongeBob where he only knows fine dining and breathing? Okay, you only need basic reading comprehension and breathing because we don't want anyone to die. I mean, you'll want to die, but I don't want anyone to actually die. guy. But yeah, thinking's not really required. I don't think you need to think. I think you're supposed to just blindly read it and not take a second and be like, what? Because as soon as you do, the whole thing is stupid and it falls apart in your hands like a wad of wet paper towels. I feel like wet paper towels are actually pretty sturdy. You know, that's why, I'm thinking too much. Again, I need to cut it out. I saw another creator refer to this as QAnon fanfic, and I absolutely agree. I believe that Zaid's job as a hacker who breaks up and dispenses of PDF file rings is meant to be a shining light in his dark soul. It's meant to redeem him for stalking and raping and killing people. But hi, you can save every child on the planet. You're still a racist. Another thing to be aware of before we get, this is so many disclaimers, but I feel like we have to I have a responsibility to you, and I take that very seriously. So the R and the SA in this book, it may be labeled dub non-con, but actual crimes are being committed here. And in the original note, it was labeled as CNC, which stands for consensual non-consent. I spoke with another person about this book, and they said that when they first picked it up, they asked a few people if there was SA in this book, and they told them no. So this is me telling you that yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. I'm not a sexpert or a kink expert, but Google is free. So let's have a quick little sex kink lesson. Yeah? Okay. First, we're going to talk about consensual non-consent, or CNC. This is a sexual fantasy or role-playing thing that's meant to mimic forced activity. In order this to be done, however, both parties involved need to have consented to it. That's where the consensual part comes in. I don't believe there's any CNC in this book. Next, we have DubCon, which stands for dubious consent. This was coined by the fanfiction community in an attempt to put a name to the gray area between R and consent. For example, like situations where the distribution of power is obviously skewed, and as a result, one person cannot give meaningful consent. That's DubCon. Next, we have non-con, or non-consensual, which I believe is just synonymous with assault, is it not? Let me know in the comments. Non-con is where one or both of the parties are forced into sexual activity. I think we have our winner. Non-con completely erases any autonomy that you may have over a situation. I think that's what we have in this book most of the time. But there is no CNC. None of it. The thing is, when it comes to kink, you can get these types of severe visceral reactions, but you have to have communication. You have to communicate this. Otherwise, it's a crime. Which leads me into my last little cluster. Listing out the kinks is great. However, this is not a kink book. This is an abuse book. Breath play, bondage, gunplay, all of these are kinks, yes. However, without consent, it's just a criminal attack. I'm sorry. If a man breaks into my house, a stranger I do not know, holds a gun to my head and SAs me, and then the cops show up and they're like, can you tell us what happened, ma'am? I'm not going to be like, gunplay? No, it's not what this is. God damn it. Let's just keep that in mind, okay? I appreciate the kinks being listed out, but this is not a kink book. This is an abuse book. What I would have said instead, there are a lot of violent sexual acts in this book that have guns, bondage, things like that, that include these things. But calling them kinks and saying that there are these specific kinks in this book, you have to have trust and communication if you are exploring kink in a safe, consensual way. Otherwise, it's a crime. I'm done. Now that we got those bits out of the way, let's talk about some of the things I didn't hate about this book. Don't worry, the list is very short. First, the cover. I love the cover. Some of you may not know, I'm an artist. I made this. I appreciate well-designed covers, and I do think that this is one of the more well-designed dark romance covers that I've seen. There's a lot to look at. It's pleasant to my eyeballs, and it's ominous, and I like it. Next is the setting. I love a creepy house. I love a dilapidated, creaky old house full of secrets and spider webs and ghosts. There wasn't much to that, sadly, so that was a huge bummer. But at the beginning of the book, when I was still stupid, I was really excited about this being set in such a creepy old house. That's the end of my positives. You made it. You made it to the end. I would apologize, but the negatives are really what we're all here for. So let's go. Am I ready to do this again? The foreboding prologue is where we're going to start. It features Adeline lying in her room in the middle of a storm while a man watches her from outside her window. I go through the motions just like I always do. My heart skips a beat and then palpitates. My breathing turns shallow and my hands grow clammy. It doesn't matter how many times I see him. He always pulls the same reaction out of me: fear and excitement. The skips a beat and then palpitates made me absolutely feral. And that was we're in the prologue. I don't know why I hate it so much. I just feel like it's doing too much for no reason, which is the whole book. Over 500 pages, just doing too much and not enough at the same time. Chapter 1. Sometimes I have very dark thoughts about my mother. Thoughts no sane daughter should ever have. Sometimes I'm not always sane. I'll just give you a minute there. Sometimes I'm not always sane. Addie, you're being ridiculous, Mom says through the speaker on my phone. I glare at it in response, refusing to argue with her. When I have nothing to say, she sighs loudly. I wrinkle my nose. It blows my mind that this woman, always called Nana dramatic, yet can't see her own flair for the dramatics. She's dramatic, but she can't see her own dramatics. She calls Nana dramatic. Say dramatic more. I included this to start us off because I wanted to show the immaturity and stupidity of the writing and Adeline. I'm setting the scene for you. Full disclosure, Adeline doesn't like her mom because her mom didn't like her Nana, but Adeline is very close to, or was very close to her Nana, rip. So there's like turmoil, but who cares? I thumped my head against the headrest, rolling my eyes upward and trying to find patience weaved into the stained roof of my car. Woven? How did I manage to get ketchup up there? How did she get ketchup up there? You know what's so funny? We never fucking find out. Nana always had a positive, sunny outlook on life, viewing the world through rose-colored glasses, while Mom is cursed with a perpetual scowl on her face, looking at life like her glasses got smashed when she was plunged out of Nana's vagina. Lovely. Another theme of this book is that every other sentence is trying to prove to me how dark this is, how edgy these characters are. I swear to Christ. Anyway, Adeline's moving into Parsons Manor, daydreaming outside. Movement catches her eye from the attic window. Apparently there's no circulation up there, so nothing should be moving. She alludes to it being a ghost. I wish it was more exciting than it is. Throughout the book, Adeline tells us that she loves scary things and feeling afraid, so naturally she loves the idea of living in this creepy house, no matter what her mom thinks. Coupled with the looming storm in the background, Parsons Manor looks like a scene out of a horror film. I love that. I can't explain why, but I do. What my mother says. I'm living here. I'm a successful writer and have the freedom to live anywhere. So what if I decide to live in a place that means a lot to me? That doesn't make me a lowlife for staying in my hometown. I travel enough with book tours and conferences. Settling down in a house won't change that. I know what the I want, and I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks about it, especially mommy dearest. Ma'am, you're 26. We get a description of the house, and it sounds hideous. Black paisley wallpaper, black, white checkered tiles, thick gold curtains, chandeliers, red velvet couches with white lace pillowcases. Adeline says something so insightful though. Really, why do those white throw pillows have a border of lace around them and a weird embroidered bouquet of flowers in the middle? That's not cute. That's ugly. That's not cute, period. That's ugly, period. Not a single wrinkle of your brain matter needs to be engaged to read this book. Now that we're settled into the not cute, much ugly house, my legs are falling asleep, so is my brain. We accompany Adeline to a book signing when she's like really awkward with social interactions. A fan approaches her at the signing to get her to sign her book, and we get this uncomfortable exchange. Oh my God, it's so awesome to meet you, she exclaims, nearly shoving the book in my face. Totally a me move. What the does that mean? Awesome to meet you too, I return. And hey, Team Freckles. She gives a bit of an awkward laugh, her fingers drifting over her cheeks. What's your name? I rush out before we get stuck on a weird conversation about skin conditions. Geez, Addie, what if she hates her freckles, dumbass? Isn't that something? Adeline looks up and notices a shadowy man standing at the back of her event, watching her. She looks away and he's gone. Now that she's done being weird in the bookstore, her and her BFF Daya decide to go be weird at a bar. Daya is a treasure. You're gonna love her. Addie, you need to get laid. In response, I wrap my lips around the straw and slurp my blueberry martini as deep as my mouth will allow. Hi, just real quick. Your mouth is connected to your esophagus, which is connected to your stomach. And by swallowing, you can essentially hold buckets. What are you? Daya, my best friend, eyes me entirely unimpressed and impatient based on the quirk of her brow. I think I need a bigger mouth. More alcohol would fit into it. Shut up. What? Just swallow it. I don't say this out loud, but I can bet my left ass cheek that her follow-up response would be to use it for a bigger dick instead. I'm crying a little bit. Like, I hate whatever style of writing this is. I really do. The like really in your face, blunt dick ass shit tits bitch language, just to make sure that we know that these people are edgy. I got it. I already had that. I got it. Anyway, Adeline's QQ, I suck at getting laid, and leads us further into hell. Daya gives me a droll look. You've had plenty of opportunities. You just don't take them. You're a hot 26-year-old woman with freckles, a great pair of tits, and an ass to die for. The men are out here waiting. What is this shit with the freckles? Seriously, I just don't know what you're on about. I have them. They're like... great, I guess. They're fine. I don't ever think about them. Anyway, Daya steals Adeline's phone, like the bitch she is, and texts a random number for a booty call. I love that. Edgy, fun, love it.
Oh, I'm edgy. I'm on fire.
Liberty, you're about as edgy as a butter knife.
If you're still not convinced that they're super fun and edgy, here are a few rapid fire excerpts to prove it. My eyes finally catch on our waitress and I flag her down desperately. She rushes over, probably thinking I found a hair in my food, when really, my best friend just has one up her ass right now. Her sage green eyes are illuminated with the type of evilness you would only find in Satan's Bible. Quick question there though. Are you talking about Satan's Bible by Robert Fries, or literally the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey? Let me know. I growl and give her the filthiest look I can manage. My face would make a dumpster look like Mr. Clean's house. Okay. Anyway, Daya texts some toolbox named Grayson, and he's like, I need you to come to your senses, baby. I'll be over in 10. Adeline tells Daya she hates her, and Daya says, I love you too, baby girl. Grayson meets Addie back at the manor and just jumps right into humping her and licking her neck for like 13 minutes. I don't know what that's about. In her blood red hallway. His Labrador days are cut short when a loud banging comes from the front door. Oop. He asks Adeline to go check because he's a little bitch. She finds nothing. But understandably, she's not really feeling super sexy after that. She goes back inside, and Grayson is now naked, save for one sock on his foot. And Adeline is like, no, did you not just... I'm not doing that tonight. I'm not in the mood anymore. Naked and pissed off, except for the sock, he storms off, leaving us with this iconic piece of literature. Get ready. You're such a bitch, Addie. All you do is give me blue balls, and I'm sick of it. I'm done with you in this creepy fucking house. And you're an asshole. Get the fuck out of my house, Grayson. His eyes widen with shock at first, and then narrow into thin slits, brimming with fury. He turns, cocks his arm back, and sends his fist flying into the drywall. A gasp is ripped out of my throat when half of his arm disappears, my mouth parting in both shock and disbelief. Since I'm not getting yours, thought I'd create my own hole to get into tonight. Fix that, bitch, he spits, still sporting only one sock and an armful of clothes. He storms off. What? 5 stars, no notes. 5 stars, no notes. We've reached the end of the chapter. We are met again with this super well-designed, not ugly, very authentic looking journal entry. We find out later, again, I'm just going to tell you now, this belongs to her great-grandmother, Gigi. Gigi had a stalker. She fell in love with him. I know, crazy sauce. Chapter 2. I cannot believe that was just one chapter. This is our first shadow chapter. Everybody gird your loins. He is torturing someone. What else would he be doing? For information on a PDF file ring, a ringleader named Fernando. Once he tells him the deets, Zaid kills him. Casual. You're a child rapist, I say aloud, though he's no longer capable of hearing me. Like I'd let you live. I slide my knife from the socket, the suction noise threatening to ruin any dinner plans I had in the next several hours, which is annoying, because I'm hungry. While I do enjoy myself a good torture session, I'm definitely not a dickhead that gets off on the sounds that accompany it. Cool. Gurgling, slurping, and other... Yeah, tell us more about the noises that you fucking hate. This book could have been cut in half. He disposes of the body and then rolls into town searching for, quote, a mean-ass burger. Guys, everything has to be edgy. Otherwise, we might forget that it's edgy.
Oh, I'm edgy. I'm on fire.
He parks. He talks for a whole paragraph about how parking shit in Seattle. Wanders down the street while whistling like he's on fucking Andy Griffith. Ahead of me. Wait. Ahead of me, there was a bookstore lit up, the warm glow shining onto the cold, wet pavement and inviting passerby into its warmth. As I near, I notice it's packed full of people. I spared a single glance before moving on. I don't care about fiction books. You're in a fiction book, dickhead. I only read the ones that are gonna teach me something. Good thing I didn't come to this book with that expectation, particularly about computer science and hacking. But now, there's nothing these books can teach me anymore. I've already mastered and then surpassed it. Just a friendly reminder from me. This is our love interest. We're supposed to like him. Huh. Also, buy now or anymore. Pick one. You don't need both. Just as he's about to continue on his quest for an Asperger, he catches a glimpse of the author's portrait advertising the event. I wonder who it is. Before me is a picture of an author that's hosting a book signing. She's fucking incredible. Long, wavy cinnamon hair brushed over dainty shoulders, creamy ivory skin with freckles dotting her nose and cheeks. Light and sporadic without overwhelming her innocent face. Loving the fragments, first of all. Keep them coming. Second, again, real quick, what the fuck is the deal with the freckles? I still don't understand this. What the fuck is this? Her eyes are what draw me in. Sultry, slanted eyes. The type that always looks seductive without trying. They're nearly the same color as her hair. A brown so light it's unusual. I thought her hair was cinnamon. One look from this girl, any man would be on their knees. Her lips are pouty and pink, stretched into a radiant smile with straight white teeth. At this point, I looked up what H.D. Carlton looked like. Remember I said I think it might be self-insert? I'm not saying that it is, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave them below. I note the name below the picture. Adeline Riley. A beautiful name fit for a goddess. Calm down. Calm down. She doesn't have that plastic beauty you see lining the magazine rack, though she could easily make it on one of those covers without Photoshop and surgery. Her features are natural. Can't properly compliment a girl without shitting on all the other ones though, right? Nailed it. I've seen a lot of beautiful women in my life. Fucked a lot too. Incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad to know that you fuck. He floats his dumbass into the bookstore and gives us one more cringeworthy excerpt. One of the most cringeworthy excerpts from the book. It's only chapter 2. When you're blessed, it shows. It's too hot in here, too crowded, and one asshole beside me keeps picking his nose, his dirty hand touching all over the book he's holding. I glimpse Riley on the cover. Poor girl. Forced to sign a book that probably has boogers all over it. Boogers. Yeah. So this is the moment, right? This is the very first moment that he lays eyes on her in the flesh across a crowded room. And it's preceded with boogers. Fuck everything. He nearly creams his jeans when she speaks 3 words into the microphone because her voice is pure smoke, whatever that means. I lean against the wall and watch her, absolutely enthralled with the little creature before me. All I want to do is break her, shatter her into pieces, and then arrange those pieces to fit against my own. I don't care if they'll fit. I'll fucking make them. I know I'm about to do something bad. I know that I'm going to cross lines that I'll never be able to come back from. But there's not an ounce of me that gives a fuck. Because I'm obsessed. I'm addicted. And I will gladly cross every single line if it means making this girl mine. If it means forcing her to be mine. Sir, this is a Wendy's. I mean, it's a bookstore, really, but damn. Chapter 3. We're back with Adeline, the manipulator, as she's digging through the hole in her wall. You'll remember Grayson's lovely commentary, I'm sure. She says, now here I am, bent over and stuffing myself in a hole. Suppose if I couldn't get mine stuffed tonight, I might as well get my action this way. That joke was so good the first time, we had to do a wraparound. I want to vanish off of this earth. Also, no one likes a joke recycler, Adeline. I thought you were a manipulator. I thought you were a writer. You can't write your own jokes. You had to take one from Grayson. Stop this. Anyway, she's digging around in there. She's using her phone as a flashlight and a battering ram to vanquish cobwebs. And she points it down the way. She noticed something shiny. The safe that's hidden behind a picture that holds Gigi's journals. Thank the Lord. She stays up all night reading them, growing more and more disturbed with each page. And I don't know if they just didn't include the riveting, disturbing passages, because the ones we get are boring as shit. They're also beautiful. The long and short of it is that Gigi is married to John, and together they have Serafina, aka Sarah, aka Nana. Gigi begins an affair and falls in love with a man named Ronaldo, who stalks her and watches her from the window. uncanny. Adeline drifts off to sleep reading the journals. She's awakened by a loud sound downstairs, and she rises to go check it out. She thinks some dumbass shit like, slowly I open the door, cringing at the loud creak that rings out. I need the Tin Man to oil the hinges on my door, just as much as I need the lion's bravery. I'm gonna respectfully ask you leave the Tin Man and the lion out of this. I need the Tin Man to oil the hinges on my door. You didn't have to say on my door. You just opened the door. I assumed it's hinges, unless you are a robot. She goes downstairs to find a single red rose on the countertop in the kitchen. And guys, this is one of the best examples of telling not showing that I found in the book. I'm gonna die. Letting out a shaky breath, I pluck the flower from the countertop and roll it in my fingers. The thorns have been severed from the stem. Pause, okay? Let's pause and be smarts together, because I know you're smart if you're here. With this sentence that I just read, as is, as human beings who possess a reading comprehension level that exceeded the 3rd grade, what can we assume? This man invaded her home, crossed boundaries, broke laws, but took time to carefully remove the thorns from the rose. The dichotomy here is great. It builds tension that this book desperately needed. And just like that, it's ruined. I get the strange inclination that it was done purposefully to save my fingers from being pricked. Yeah, no shit. If you were thinking, oh God, if you were thinking that you were gonna get to read this book and work things out for yourself along the way, you're not. Every single thing is told to you like you're 9 years old. Nuance, inferences, tension. No thanks, I'm set. Anyway, she gets worked up over this, which I would too, but not like this. I don't like someone thinking they could just break into my home while I'm sleeping upstairs. And I especially don't like someone making me feel vulnerable in my own house. And then to have the audacity to leave me a flower like a fucking weirdo. I took that personally, thank you. They may have made that rose powerless by clipping its thorns, but I will gladly show them that a rose is still fucking deadly when it's shoved down their throat. I think, and again, I'm tripping myself up thinking, but I think this is meant to be one of those moments where you're like, hell yeah, bitch. But she just sounds like an idiot. So, womp womp. Rose isn't deadly with thorns, is it? I have pricked my finger on a rose, but I've never died. The next day, she's just drinking coffee and on the phone with Daya and casually tells her that somebody broke into her house last night. Daya is obviously worried about her, and I am too, but for different reasons. I'm on my 2nd cup, and it feels like I have dumbbells for eyes, and my lids are in a losing weightlifting battle. What? Your eyelids don't lift or hold up your eyeballs. So again, see, look at me thinking, I'm not supposed to do that. So she fills Daya in, and Daya's like, I'm coming over. And she can do this because she has a lenient work schedule, which we later find out she is employed by Zaid's hacking company. I know, God, this video is going to be so long. Chapter 4. This chapter starts with Adeline and Daya drinking and going through her dead grandmother's belongings. Your grandma is a freak, Daya announces before proceeding to hold up old dusty lingerie. I balk, perturbed by the sight in front of me. My idiot friend is holding the sides of the lacy underwear and flapping her tongue provocatively, or what's supposed to be provocative. I'm far more disturbed than anything right about now. That makes 2 of us. Please stop. She rolls her eyes to the back of her head, dramatically mimicking an orgasm, which ends up looking more like an exorcism to me. Dark. You're being entirely inappropriate right now. What if my Nana can see you? The idea of ghosts lingering around freaks Daya out. Whatever gets her to stop waving my grandmother's crusty underwear in my face. Crusty underwear. You're 26, and these are your beloved deceased grandmother's belongings that you're going through. I would light someone on fire. My grandmother is my best friend. If she passes away and my friends come over to help me sort through her things and they do this, I would unalive all of them. Everybody would be dead. We'd all join my grandmother. Adeline offers to go make them some drinks. Daya says she needs her drink strong now that she knows that ghosts are there. And Adeline says, just do a little striptease. That'll scare him away. To which Daya throws a roll of tape at her head. Throw something bigger next time. All of this is just a sweet little look at their friendship. She knows damn well that she's beautiful, which is why I tend to tease her about being the opposite. Somebody's gonna humble the sexy bitch once in a while. She'll get too big for this earth if I don't. Thanks, I hate it. Goes downstairs, walks into the kitchen, finds another red rose sitting alongside an almost empty whiskey glass. That glass wasn't here before. Neither Daya nor I have left the 2nd floor for the past hour, both waist deep in old people things. My heart thunders in my ears as I tentatively reach out and grab the glass, inspecting it as if it's a magic 8-ball and going to reveal the person who drank out of it. Yeah, outlook not so good, bitch. That's not how a magic 8-ball works. Daya's like, where's my drink, bitch? So Adeline snaps back to reality, not before grabbing the rose and ripping the petals from the stem and dropping them into the empty whiskey glass, saying, quote, part of me almost hopes they come back so they can see my little masterpiece. Masterpiece. You just shoved flower petals into a cup. I'd hate to read her novels. I think I'm reading one of her novels. Gal pals continue cleaning and drinking and drinking and cleaning. And by the end of the day, Daya sets off reluctantly. But Adeline won't be scared out of her own house, even though she's, quote, terrified. However, I'm just as stubborn and, as already established, stupid too. I second that. I think those are meant to be sentences, but I'm also meant to be having a good time. They say their goodbyes, Daya leaves, and Adeline goes to take a shower, but not before grabbing a knife. Now, if you're a true crime person, if you watch true crime, you know that in a stabbing, they often check the blood left behind at the scene for traces of the perpetrator's blood as well, because 9 times out of 10, if you stab someone, you accidentally cut yourself as well. So grabbing a knife to defend yourself in a slippery shower, super smart. Let's keep going. Chapter 5. Adeline is standing on the edge of a cliff. She's contemplating what would happen if she just, Weeks have gone by. More roses show up everywhere she goes. She actually uses her noggin on these, though, and reports them to the police. Also hired a construction crew to replace all the windows, all the doors, all the locks, and completely redo her porch and a couple other things around her house. Anyway, she's standing at the edge, and one of the workers comes to tell her that they're done for the day, and also that a package arrived for her. But, obviously he's skeeved out by the fact that she's like, the package is a dozen roses with a note that reads, I'll be seeing you soon, little mouse. She files a police report on this too. Brain cell activated. Her mom drops by. Her mom's name is Serena, and Adeline just hates her. I don't really understand the hostility, but I also don't care. Mom's shiny black Lexus is parked outside. Schmancy. So schmancy that it almost seems mocking. A stark difference to this old house, as if to say, I'm better than you. 3 things, okay? 1, schmancy. 26. 2, you're projecting a little bit, it seems. 3, fun fact, just had my roof replaced, and thankfully our insurance covered most of it, but it was very expensive. So if Adeline has hired an entire crew of people to come to her home and do renovations, she's not poor either. Anyway, Mommy Dearest drops the bomb that Gigi was actually murdered in this house, in the bedroom that Adeline sleeps in, and the murder was never solved. Honestly, her mother just seems a little uptight and like she's concerned for Adeline's sanity and safety, which she should be, but what a cunt. Zayd again. Lovely. He's about to bust up in a warehouse where a bunch of children are being held by Fernando. He's described in medium detail. I will spare you. The short version is the warehouse has a bunch of children chained to cots and tables filled with drugs and guns. With the help of some guy named Jay in his ear, he moves in and takes out 3 guards. Bing, bang, boom. As Jay said, 3 men stand guard in front of me, completely unaware of my presence. Stupid fucks. I'll never understand how people can't sense danger when it's right up their assholes. Right on. Firefight ensues. Anyway, he kills everybody except Fernando. He needs him. His team swoops in and escorts the girls to safety. Ruby is another one of the people on his team that helps evacuate the children. Zayd gets all weird. Like, not a drop of blood on these girls. Blah. Shut up. And we get one of those tender moments that I talked about earlier between Zayd and one of the children. He gets down on her level. And it's probably intended to soften him in our eyes. It doesn't. It did not work. He whistles more, like the lunatic that he is, and heads out to his Mustang, which I gotta say, no hate to the Mustang drivers that may be watching this video. Of course he drives a Mustang. Chapter 7. Daya convinces Adeline to leave the house, and as she's getting ready, she tells us more about her Victorian Gothic dream house. Long story short, everything is black, the edgiest color. Anyway, girls' night! The bass pumping through the speakers vibrates through my body. My black drip skinny jeans cling to my curves, and the plunging low-cut red tank shows off my ample cleavage, along with the small glistening beads of sweat between my breasts. It's hotter than Hades' ball sack, and the alcohol pumping through my veins doesn't help matters. Hades' ball sack, you say? Cool.
Oh, I just hate it so much.
Adeline catches the blue eyes of a sketchy man who takes her and Daya up to VIP. Lucky. 4 men are draped across a black leather booth formed in a half moon. In the center is a black marble table occupied by several glasses of amber liquid, along with a few crystal ashtrays. There's barely a hint of color in here. The decor reminding me of Parsons Manor. All black everything, no regrets, we get it. They all introduce themselves, but I couldn't care less. The only one important enough to note is the one that Adeline is with. His name is Arch, short for Archibald Talavera III. Just as they're settling in, Adeline gets a text. Sneaking off with random men, little mouse. If I catch his hands anywhere near you, they'll end up in your mailbox by morning. That is clearly a threat, but not big enough to deter Adeline from bringing this man back to her home and sealing his doom. Chapter 8. I take Arch back to the manor. He asked me to go to his, but I feel much safer at my own home, more in control. In retrospect, I shouldn't take him to a house that sits on a cliff, surrounded by woods and several miles out from civilization. Worst of all, with a stalker that lingers around and likes to break in. God, this was stupid. It was. Great job, Adeline. You have a beautiful home, Arch compliments. Don't lie to the girl, Arch. Damn. She leads him into her favorite room, which is the sunroom. Basically just a glass box where you can see all of the stars. And the stars and creepy men lurking in the bushes can see all of you as well. Now, I'm not victim blaming, because Adeline absolutely is a victim. But at what point is she complicit? Spoiler alert, Arch gets killed. Not only did she bring him back, knowingly putting him in danger, she brought him into the most exposed room of the house and let him finger bang her there. Like, whatever. They start making out. It's supposed to be hot. It's not. He pops a few digits in her and then starts talking to her like she's some sort of blue booby titmouse warbler. Fuck, baby. That's it. Let me hear you sing now. You sing so pretty. Do you sing pretty when you come, Addie? Such a pretty bird. Bird? Mouse? Should we also tag bestiality? Why are there so many critters? Movement outside the window. Followed by angry banging at the door. Arch does what Grayson could never do and goes and checks it out. And Adeline stays inside, literally loving every minute of it. I should have told him I have a stalker. And I thought I saw something when we were in the sunroom, but everything happened too fast and now he's actively putting himself in danger. The situation turns me on just as much as it terrifies me. I need to check myself into a mental hospital if I survive this night. See, isn't this complicity? She prays, though. God, I know we don't always agree on my life choices, but please don't let this poor man die because of me. I'll stop drinking. I mean it this time. Get wrecked. I personally love it when, amidst a dire circumstance, she decides to have a one-way conversation with her female lord. Arch never returns and the house grows quiet. She goes out onto the porch to look for him and steps on a rose covered in blood. Bing! Don't feel guilty, baby. I don't make idle threats, so consider this a lesson learned. The police come, they ask questions, search the area. He tells the cops Arch's full name, and the cops like, well, this guy might have done you a favor. Apparently, Arch is a violent criminal who beats his wife, which so is Zaid. I mean, he doesn't have a wife, but he is a violent criminal. So anyway, they ask about the rose. She says she has a stalker and that she's made multiple reports, but there are no reports in the system. We end the chapter with Adeline crestfallen, knowing she's not safe and nothing can be done. Shadow, chapter 9. This is badly written and choppy, so grab onto something sturdy. We're getting Zaid's perspective on what just happened. I've committed homicide, cold-blooded murder, on many men who've worn different faces of the devil, and have done it for various reasons. Whether they've arred a child, killed an innocent, or destroyed someone's life that didn't deserve it. All of this could have been one sentence. But I've never killed someone out of jealousy. First time for everything, I guess. Archibald Talavera had his lips on my girl, his hands down her pants. He's touching her, fucking her with his fingers, saying dirty things to her that elicits a pretty little blush of color to her cheeks. Subject-verb agreement? Why bothers? And at that moment, I decided he wasn't gonna live tonight. Not only was another man trying to lay claim on my girl, but Archibald Talavera is a fucking psychopath. A real one. You've got to be kidding me. But he isn't. That's the joke. That's it. Da-dum-bum. I hate this book. Calls coming from inside the house, my dude. As we know, Arch bursts out onto the porch to look for him, but in this chapter, we get to hear what he sees, which sounds terrifying, honestly. As we already know, Arch bursts out onto the porch, but what we don't know is that he glances around and finds Zaid grinning with a rose in his teeth in the bushes like a fucking possessed ballroom dancer. I know that this is supposed to be scary, and I think that if I walked outside and saw something like that, it would be scary, but the way this is reading to me, goofy as shit. Zaid stabs Arch and then punches him in the back of the head. takes the rose out of his pocket, dips it in blood, and leaves it for Adeline, and then takes Arch into his Mustang and drives off into the night. I'm sorry. When Arch wakes up and yells fuck every other sentence and then starts talking shit about Addie, same. This is when Zayd decides to kill him slowly because it's bad enough that he spoke of my girl in such a disgusting manner, but then he went and topped it off by implying Addie isn't anything special. She's the first of her kind to exist. There will never be another like her. It's the freckles, isn't it? So we've reached an incredible example of how unnecessary most of this book was. It literally could have been cut in half. And I like to picture like having a first date with this man and not understanding when to shut the fuck up. So if you'll allow me, I pull into the driveway leading into my warehouse. It's a smaller structure used to manufacture cameras for some shitty company that went out of business within 5 years. The building was foreclosed on and I bought it for dirt cheap and then spent hundreds of thousands of dollars transforming it into an impenetrable fortress. I converted the main floor into my living space with state-of-the-art security. An ant will not be able to find its way in the building without me knowing about it. The second floor is my workspace. Dozens of computers and illegal technology that make it possible to do what I do fill the space. And the basement is where I handle all my business. I built an underground garage. Makes for an easier haul when I got a 6'2" dickhead to carry to the table. I'm a big man, but I'm just as capable of throwing my back out as the next person. I'm still a human fucking being. It's felt like several things. A toddler trying to tell a story. Bad pacing, choppy, errant thoughts that no one asked for. But it also, again, if you're into true crime, this man is Israel Keys. If you're not into true crime, Israel Keys is a very methodical, you're not my real dad kind of energy having serial killer. He wrote a slip and slide note before he passed away in prison. It's the same. It's the exact same energy. The rest of this long, insanely useless chapter is just grueling details of him killing Arch. Rip. Let's move forward. Chapter 10. Adeline asks Daya if anything has come up about Arch or if anybody knows where he is. No. They chat a bit more and Daya's like, I'm getting you a security system. Adeline is writing. A package gets delivered. Not that kind of package. Okay. It's a box containing Arch's hands. She tells Daya. Daya says, take a couple shots. I'll be right over. Daya comes over and there's a note threatening more violence if she reports this to the cops. So Daya's like, give me the box. I'll dispose of the hands. Friends like these, huh? Daya comes back with news that Arch's entire family is dead. No witnesses! No evidence! The security system gets installed. Adeline settles in to write, and here's movement upstairs. It was just Gigi's journal fell on the ground, but that leads Adeline to request Daya look into Gigi's death. Starts the whole side quest to solve this murder. She falls asleep, wakes up with a start because Zayd is like standing on the other side of her door. There were no highlights in this chapter. It's just him lurking around, her being like a stupid prick, but ultimately being able to do nothing. So chapter 11, making her way through the journals, she begins to question Gigi's sanity. If she, quote, lets a strange man watch her, come into her home, touch her, that is certifiably insane. LOL. Zayd emerges from the trees and starts walking towards the house, smoking a cigarette, which is the real villain here. This is like one part QAnon fanfic and one part low-key PSA against smoking. She walks down the stairs to challenge him. Hey, asshole, if you don't get off my property, I'll call the cops. Later, I'll ask God why she made me the way that I am, but right now, all I can do is plant 2 of my hands on his chest and push when I get close enough. I don't allow myself to register the defined muscles under his hoodie because only psychos would focus on that right now. Oh my God, God is a woman?
Oh, I'm edgy. I'm on fire.
She does randomly chat with this female deity. Each time it's just really cringy. She asks him what he wants. He just smiles like a fucking weirdo, turns around and leaves. The fuck? She finishes her manuscript and starts digging around into Gigi's murder, pores over the details of the journals. She sits back and notices that Zayd is back again, just standing there menacingly and smoking. It's been days since I confronted him, and I've been on high alert ever since, waiting for him to break in again and this time come into my room while I'm sleeping. That's right, folks. Adeline is horny for this man. There's something to be said about the power of suggestion here, though, isn't there? Like, she's reading these journals from her great-grandmother, who was in love with her stalker. Is it not like a seed planted, like, you know, whatever, she's stupid. All of this is stupid. She breaks eye contact to pretend that there's someone in the house and hollers at him, trying to, you know, get under his skin. Great. They have a staring contest, but eventually she does actually have shit to do. She has another author event. She's nervous because she's so awkward and weird, but Daya gives her a pep talk. What do you call yourself? Daya asks, quirking a brow at me. I sigh. A master manipulator. Why? I roll my eyes. Because I manipulate people's emotions with my words when they read my books. I grouse. I'm Googling this because I thought grouse was a bird. Exactly. So that's all you do. Except your mouth says the words instead of your fingers. Fake it till you make it, baby. Stupid. You can't give yourself a nickname. She gets drunk and Daya drives her home after the event. They pull up to the house where a single light is glowing in the home. But Adeline knows that she turned off all of those lights before she left. Drunk on booze and power, she barrels in there. Come out, you freak! And finally, when she looks around, notices that the entire room is full of red roses. Daya is telling her that they need to leave and call the police. Daya brings Adeline back to her house for the night. Adeline situates herself in the guest bedroom, and wouldn't you know it, Zayd's outside that window too. He texts, "You didn't like my flowers?" No, I did not. It's not so much the flowers as it is everything else. This man is unhinged. This is a horror novel. Random thought. There's a few people that I've spoken to that don't like horror, but they will read things like this, and I'm like, you do like horror. Absolutely you do. Chapter 12. Zayd has sent a video. It is vile, so fair warning. It's a grainy video of a fucked up satanic ritual. Apparently, the people sacrifice the little boy and drink his blood. Satanists don't do this, but okay. What is this 1970s Richard Ramirez satanic panic bullshit? Like, what is it? Stop this. Zayd gets a justice hard on and gets super self-righteous about avenging this boy. I could copy and paste this into almost all of his chapters. He is so horny for his own theatrical heroics. Ugh. They also discuss a previous video of a little girl being sacrificed by government officials, senators, actually. QAnon fanfic. They stuffed her and drank her blood, enchanted. All of this never eases up. It gets worse. This is QAnon vigilante porn. There's also a helicopter. Maybe they're coming to arrest me for reading this book out loud to people. It should be a crime. Adeline is seen writing her manuscript and going to 2 author events. That energy for this bullshit, please. I don't care. All of this is garbage. I explored the dark web and found thousands of videos of parents R-ing their own children, alongside the millions of other videos of torture, cannibalism, and even necro. A lot of those videos take place in red rooms where buyers can direct how exactly they want the victim to be tortured, arred, and unalived. And those are just the ones involving children. While I do know that this world is a really weird place, full of twisted, awful people doing fucked up, horrible things, this is so extreme and exhausting to read. Every chapter involving the rescuing of women, children have this level of detail to the events, the violence, subject matter. I fucking hate it. Which is strange because I read Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, brutal, violent, non-stop action from like the first few chapters, and it is a thriller novel about a woman whose husband passes away, and when she's going through his things, she discovers things like this on her husband's computer, and she has to like go through it and figure out all this stuff, whatever. And it's very violent and depraved, but it's a thriller novel. Clearly, I like the darker stuff, but this novel uses these vicious acts as a way of painting this villain in a better light and redeeming his character, so that when he R's Adeline, it's cool because he saves children from the real villains. I think that there are more circle jerky sections about this stuff than there is actual sex scenes between Zayd and Adeline. Anyway, he busts into Adeline's house again, says he feels some cold breath on his neck. He goes nowhere, don't get too excited about it. If you were expecting ghosts, chill, it ain't happening. He whines about how torturous his existence and his line of work is, but how thankful he is because it brought him Adeline. So sweet, but false. Seattle's parking and your hunt for a mean-ass burger brought you to Adeline. Some days it's hard to live with. Some days I can barely stand from the weight of this cruel world resting on my shoulders. But I know if I don't, my life would be worthless and those kids would have died for nothing. Shut up forever. Chapter 13, Addie sees Gigi's ghost and it vanishes into the attic. She runs after it. She finds 2 notes shoved into a hole. Grayson, is that you? And they read, I did what I was told to do, because if I didn't, I know I'd be next. So this is my confession. I helped him cover up her murder. I'm so sorry. And I have to be quick. He said he's on his way and I'm terrified. If I run, he'll catch me. So I'm writing this note down and hope someone will find it. If something happens to me, John, it would... She gets mad at the ghost and throws a fit. Cut to later in the day night. Zayd is watching her outside, and she's unsure what to do about it. She decides to pretend to call the police. My phone chimes in my ear, brow plunging. I hesitantly pull the phone away from my ear and look at the incoming message. Am I supposed to believe that you're on the phone with the police? I think my little mouse is a liar. Oh no, he didn't. I angrily type back my message. Wanna find out? Yeah, I do actually. I'd love to punish you for it later too. My thumbs freeze over the letters. The last punishment was gruesome and sickening. Arch's hands. What, you gonna send me toes next? Depends. You still pretending to fuck other guys, or would you rather yell at ghosts in your house again? This annoyant, petulant exchange continues for a little bit longer. Ultimately, she does call the police. Caution to the wind. She talks to the cops, explains everything, takes a shower, and then goes to bed. A text. The more you disobey me, the harder your punishment. Fuck you. Fuck this. Fuck off. Daya's pissed. I'm gonna find this little dick prick. Sensational. All of a sudden, Adeline realizes what the real problem is. How likely is it that he can hack into my phone and find my nudes? Shut up. Who do you even send your nudes to? She asked, snatching the bottle of vodka from my hands after I take a hefty swig. I haven't sent a nude since I was 20. I take nudes because I like my body and want to stare at it all day. I fucking love you. Sadly, she might not be the only one. I'm so tired. Chapter 14. It seems every day my appreciation for Daya grows. She gives me a sense of safety I didn't realize I was missing. I'm gonna have to propose to her soon or something. Still, I will never take another nude in my entire life, but that's a small price to pay in the grand scheme. I've decided to remove the camera from my room to allow me at least some semblance of comfort. I'll just have to hold off on walking around the house naked until something is done about this creep. Now, if only Arch's best friends weren't up my asshole, then maybe I'd get an extra hour or two of sleep at night. This is a whole new chapter, and she's still worried about the nudes. Taking nudes and smoking cigarettes are the real problems. How very evangelical selective outrage of them. It's very weird. I don't know if I mentioned, I probably didn't, but Arch's best friend's name is Max. And he's asking questions since Adeline was the last one to see him. I guess it's relevant. Is any of this relevant? No, but we're all dying and the world's on fire, so... Halloween is coming up, and I'm sure it's no surprise to you that our edgy queen loves it. Oh my god, it's her favorite holiday.
Oh, I'm edgy. I'm on fire.
Halloween's coming up. We're going to the haunted houses this year, right? I give her a droll look. Halloween is my entire life, Daya. Of course we're going to fucking haunted houses. For as long as I can remember, Halloween fascinated me. The creatures and creepy faces, the jump scares, the impending dread that something horrific is going to happen. I've had an unhealthy obsession with it all. Mom sent me to therapy specifically for my fascination with gory horror movies. She thought I was a psychopath. And really, I just get off on being scared. Ooh, I didn't ask. I didn't. This is when we first learned about Satan's Affair, which is, if you recall, the name of the prequel novella that I talked about at the beginning of this book that I plan to not read. Please don't make me. Sign up for Patreon if you want me to do it. Satan's Affair is a traveling fair that comes to town every year, staying for 2 nights before moving on to the next town. They set up loads of haunted houses and thrill rides. Diane and I go every year religiously. You already know I'll be the first one in line. Yeah, we know, freak, she teases, despite the fact that it used to be my mother's favorite slur. I don't let it bother me anymore. Plenty of men have called me the same, followed up by desperate begging to fuck me again. Being a freak took on a whole new meaning a long time ago. I tend to enjoy the name now. Try harder. No, I just don't get try hard. You need to try harder. Daya leaves, and as soon as she does, the moron texts. Here's that exchange. Ready for your punishment, little mouse? Why are you doing this? You haunt me. It's only fair I return the sentiment. You're so beautiful when you're scared. I'm so close I can smell you. Quit being a pussy and come out then. This is so stupid, my god. He texts again saying, come find me. She sets off after him in the house, hunting him down. She goes upstairs and through all the doors. Also, can I just say, he said, I'm close enough to smell you, and he was a floor above her and down the hallway. How bad does she smell? And she stands in front of the last door knowing that he's on the other side, and she ponders over what he must be feeling and thinking right now, like a fucking idiot. She opens the door and screams because he's just standing on her balcony smiling at her with a knife. I did actually, around this part, I texted Hannah because she finished the book before me somehow, and I asked if Zaid was a vampire because 1, it would explain his heightened sense of smell. 2, it would make this much more bearable, and it just would have been fun and explained a couple of things. But he's just a human guy. Hooray. Chapter 15. She gives him the nickname Kitty Cat, and I want to pull my fingernails off one by one, which I painted black for this video. All black everything. She calls him Kitty Cat and demands that he takes his hood off. We get our first full-length description of him. And I wish I cared, like, just a little bit, but I don't. His face is unlike anything I've seen, but that's the thing. I have seen him before. The mismatched eyes give him away. In the bookstore, I only saw portions of his face at the time. He seemed mildly attractive, but now I see those pieces as a whole. He's devastating. This book is devastating. His right eye darker than the midnight sky, and the other the exact opposite. His left eye is so bleached of color it's nearly white. The scar starting from the middle of his forehead and slashing right down through his white eye and to the middle of his cheek is something I haven't been able to forget since I saw him in the bookstore. Despite the ugly scar, fucking rude, god damn. It only serves to heighten his utter beauty. A jawline so sharp he could cut diamonds with it. A straight, aristocratic nose. Full lips. Short black hair just long enough to run your fingers through it. This is wrong. So wrong. I shouldn't be attracted to a stalker. No, you shouldn't. Maybe old mom was right to be concerned about you. Whatever. That's self-awareness we can't afford. Just like an editor. She goes on about how overwhelmingly big his presence is and how small she feels. He moves towards her and her spine tightens, whatever that means. He gets right up on her and then just presses himself against her. Literally just standing smushed up against each other. She finally snaps out of it and tries to stab him. He just grabs the blade and slices up his own hand. What is the point of any of this, you fucking idiot? Are you gonna cry, Addie? Bitch, I might! Get your donkey breath out of my face. I want to devour you, he whispers. My lip trembles. I suck the traitorous lip between my teeth. If only it stopped. I suck the traitorous lip between my teeth. If only it stops showing my weakness. I copy and pasted all of this into my outlines, so these are not typos that I made. When I risk a glance at him, his eyes have zeroed in on my lips. Are you here to kill me? I ask lowly, trying my best to mask the tremors racking through my body. I'm failing. Why would I do that? I'm not sure how to answer that. I wouldn't kill you, little mouse. I want to keep you. Fuck off. But if I don't want you to, you will. I will not! She will, but I wouldn't. I open my mouth ready to tell him about himself and his mama. God damn it. Ugh. But the words die on my tongue when he reaches up a hand and swipes his thumb roughly across my bottom lip. He growls in delight. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna allow you the opportunity to run and hide. If I find you, I'll deliver your punishment. If I don't, you'll go unpunished and I'll leave. Ah, cat and mouse. Clever. I want to jump into the sun. She hides. He finds her. Ah! I know. He carries her to the sunroom. As she is struggling and screaming, she cries, and he tells her not to cry because it's gonna get so much worse. Bitch, what are you, a Cenobite? Shut the fuck up. I like you scared, he whispered. I like you begging and pleading, crying out for God to save you. I feel the touch of his hand on my face and I flinch away. His fingers lightly trace over my cheekbone to my hair, tucking the loose strand behind my ear. I like you trembling beneath my touch uncontrollably. You're sick. I'm shaking from head to toe, and I can't seem to stop it. You think you're only gonna beg because you're fighting for your life, but that's where you're wrong. The only way I'll be sending you to heaven is with my cock, he grunts out, and definitely my tongue and fingers too. Hate it, hate it, hate it. She asks him what he's gonna do, and he says, claim you, before biting into her neck. Again, hear me out. Vampires would have not only made this book make sense, but also made it better somehow. But just tack that onto my ever-growing list of disappointments when it comes to this book. Anyway, he keeps biting her all over her fucking neck and shoulder. Weird, but alright. She then bites his cheek. That's something. That's not nothing. That's something for sure. They talk more shit. I'll make your face even uglier than it already is. You know my scars make you wet. The chapter ends with him holding a gun to her face and standing over her as she pleads for mercy. Hot. Chapter 16. She's terrified, thinking she's about to die. But what's really got her all upset is thinking that she may die and pee her pants and die in a puddle of piss. Talk about embarrassing. Almost as unforgivable as having nude selfies on your phone. He forces her to strip at gunpoint and tells her how beautiful she is in her matching black lacy lingerie set, which he totally doesn't deserve, by the way. His pointer finger curls in the edge of my thong, tracing the lining from the juncture of my thigh down towards my center. Before he reaches my he pulls the material out and runs his fingers up and down the fabric, his finger a mere inch from my body. I want to cover my face because I know he's feeling my body's betrayal. These are soaked. That's called discharge. The scream I scrumped when I read this the first time. This is the only time that I laugh with the book and not at the book. Well done. And then, as much as I hate to say this to you, I'm no stranger to a woman's pussy and what it feels like when it weeps for me. I'm weeping. I'm weeping. Gag, 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 gag. He puts the gun to her face. She freaks out and he says, relax. I just want you to suck it. I mean, what choice does she have, really? It's a strange man in her house with a gun in her face. So she does. I can't judge, because if I were a victim of such a violent essay, I don't know what I would do, especially when consent is not a factor. But whatever. Pulls the gun out and drops it down a little lower on her anatomy and proceeds to bang her with the gun. See what I did there? Arch called her a bird. He calls her a mouse. I'm calling it DOA. Stick a tag on my toe. I want to die. This happens. She climaxes. He rips the gun out of her, which, listen to me. Just listen to me. She needs an emergency walk-in appointment at her gyno, like as soon as possible. Guns are made out of metal. They have sharp edges. The vagina is a soft, organic orifice. He just ripped it out? No. He licks the gun clean. I'm not a gun person, but this doesn't seem like proper gun maintenance and care. But whatever. My body is full of rage, humiliation, and shame. I know this. But it's like my brain can't process those emotions. So it's just choosing to feel nothing at all. Is this what trauma does? Knowing you've been violated, but your body chooses to go numb instead. Serious cap. This is one of the moments in the book where Adeline takes a moment to really process what just happened to her. And she comes up with words like numb, trauma, violated to describe what happened and how she's feeling. And I just keep thinking back to how this was first said to be consensual non-consent. It is not. It is sexual assault. Do you remember we talked about kinks? Okay, after he does this, he gives her a rose and leaves her without a word. A big part of kink, especially things like that very aggressive, violent, heavy kinks, big part of that is the aftercare. Aftercare is something that benefits both parties. Ultimately, they need to come down from the intense emotions and experiences that they just had. It usually comes down to the partner to provide a safe place for them to do that. It looks different for everybody. It may look like cuddling. It may look like watching something silly on TV just to remember who you are and where you are and that you're safe. I personally love a juice box, but whatever, we're not talking about it. He also doesn't speak to her for a long time after this. He just lurks around outside for the next few nights smoking. The nerve. Watching me, a red cherry blaring in the night as he puffs on a cigarette. What I wanted to tell him is how fucking disgusting it is that he smokes, focusing on the real issues. Thank you for this. But the heat between my thighs likes the way he looks. My asshole of a vagina might have even been jealous of the cigarette. Apparently it has a thing for inanimate objects. Now that's the shittiest sentence to ever sentence. Asshole of a vagina? I hate it. Whatever, she gets some wine. Cigarettes are a big no-no, but alcohol, good to know. Rage causes my hands to tremble with the reminder of how he left me on the floor, tossing a rose on me like discarded trash and then leaving. I've never felt more debased as a human until that moment. Never more humiliated. Aftercare. Aftercare. If this were a kink scene or CNC, this wouldn't be how she felt in the days after the encounter, because aftercare would have been implemented. But this isn't kink. This is assault. This is a crime. This is abuse. Just reminding you again. She doesn't tell Dia about this, but they do go out to lunch. Adeline wears a turtleneck to hide all of the bruises from the biting. Max shows up to lunch and kind of leans on him for information about Arch. And Adeline tells him a version of what happened. But then Max tells him that he sent people to her house to scope it out and saw them disposing of that box where Arch's hands were. So Max leaves, chapter ends. Everybody's uncomfortable, but most of all me. Shadow chapter 17. He's hiding in her closet. Why not? She's so pretty when she thinks no one is watching. My little mouse trudges into the bedroom, her tattered slippers dragging against the smooth stone floors. She's tired. Dark circles are beginning to form underneath her eyes. It doesn't seem like she's doing very well, huh? And it's because he's the cause. She's not sleeping. She's scared. She's on edge, and he loves it. But he's hot. So who cares? I want to smooth them away just to bring them back again. But I want her to be tired from staying up all night, taking my cock into her body until she's depleted all of her strength. Even then, I'll still fuck her. I deprived myself last time, refused to touch her with my own hands when she hadn't earned that from me yet. Fuck you, fuck off. But watching that gun slide in and out of her pussy was just torturous for me. I barely made it to my car before I was coming in my hands. This is a horror novel. This is a horrifying novel. Horrible. Horrific. But it's okay, guys. Okay? It's okay. I've never been in love with anything other than my job. I haven't even bothered fucking a woman for over a year. I just don't have the time. They were always a quick fuck and then I'd be off again. The release rarely easing any tension. After dealing with enough tears and desperate attempts to get me to stay with them, I grew tired of the hassle. Literally, no. I would be begging and pleading for him to leave. Not unlike Adeline. You know what really cements this idea that this man is irresistible for me is when He constantly tells me how irresistible he is. 100%. Believe it. Which I think that this is meant to give us a notion that this man is a catch. She's special because so many other women have begged this man to stay, and he doesn't care about them. He cares about Adeline. Give me a fucking break. The moment I saw her sitting in that bookstore working to hide her nerves and anxiety, there I was, a grown-ass man, falling in obsession at first sight. At least that's accurate. Yeah. I feel like a 15-year-old boy who just discovered what pussy feels like. Every time I set eyes on her, I'm ready to bust in my jeans from looking at her. See someone. Not normal. I want to touch her, kiss her, and make her mine in every sense of the word. Marking her body wasn't enough, but I get the feeling I will never feel like I've had enough of Adeline Serafina Riley, at least on paper. Listen, I have inevitably had some thirst traps of this man fall onto my For You page. Because of how much I've been talking about this book, the algorithm is thinking that I like it. The thirst traps have me concerned. One person commented on one and said, I wish men like Zayd existed in real life. Good news and bad news. Check the sex offender registry. Again, you're allowed to like what you want. Who gives a fuck what I think? But I'm concerned a little bit. WriteAPrisoner.com. So when Adeline falls asleep, Zayd hops out of the closet and he feels another cold breath on his neck. He takes a call from Jay. Jay tells him that the senators are in town and it's time to mingle. Apparently it's too risky to just storm their houses, even though this man is no match for anyone. He gets through everything, wipes everything out, takes care of everything unscathed, but he still needs to infiltrate this group. Why? Because we wouldn't have fanfic if he didn't. Grow up. Chapter 18. He starts flirting with her. She sasses him. A back and forth that I'm definitely not tired of. She's horny. He's a criminal. It's a sitcom. She starts masturbating. He's like, you masturbating? And she's like, no. Hot. He threatens her. They go back and forth. He's creepy. She's insolent. She hides under her cover like any rational 26-year-old woman would do and wakes up with him between her legs. Normal. Keep pissing me off, Addie. I do enjoy hurting you. It's music to my ears when I hear you cry. So sweet. Her body starts positively responding to him touching her, and she says, I refuse to let that cloud my judgment. Riding alongside pleasure is disgust. Disgust at myself, my body, for feeling anything else. And disgust that he is taking something that I did not willingly give. He continues to eat her out and like gnaw on her clit. Which all I kept seeing is a piece of chewed bubblegum. And since this vivid mental image won't leave me alone, it's now yours as well. You're welcome. He likes the entirety of my slit, his tongue moving leisurely all the way up to the bundle of nerves before he sucks my clit between his teeth and clamps down. Chewed gum. Chewed gum. Did that hurt? He asked softly, tilting his head as he watches his fingers slide in and out of me. Juice collecting in the palm of his hand. Juice! I love juice. Apple, mango, orange, mango. How dare you? But she got that whop! God help me. More oral sex, more threats, more sass, more bullshit. She's torn because it seems like her body is enjoying this. And she admittedly gets off on fear, but she doesn't want it logically in her mind. I let it happen again with the gun and now this. Why do I keep letting this happen? He's forcing himself onto me. We both know that. But in the end, he had me wanting it just as much as he did. He had me nearly begging for it, whether it was with his gun or his tongue. My legs fall open by the time it was over. I don't know what the fuck to do with that information or how the hell to even process. Okay, serious cap back on. That's trauma, specifically S trauma. Trauma coupled with guilt and shame. I feel like this is a good time to mention that your body has involuntary reactions to things. It responds to stimuli regardless of your desire. We have involuntary responses. And throughout the rest of the book, she wrestles with the fact that her body is enjoying it and failing her. This is something that a lot of SA survivors struggle with. I don't know. I felt like I needed to take a second to talk about this because it feels important. I've experienced this before, so I know other people have. I understand the push and pull of feeling disgusted with yourself and ashamed of what happened to you, feeling dirty, and then also feeling like, well, I seemed to react to it, so what does that say about me? I know that a lot of survivors feel this. So I guess I just wanted to say that you're not alone if you're watching this and all of this is feeling very familiar, even if you've done a lot of work like I have. It's SA, and I've said that this whole time. I will continue to say it, and the way that she speaks about it afterward shows that she feels assaulted, she feels violated, and it's familiar to someone who has actually struggled. The guilt is a natural trauma response to something like this. So I guess I I don't know, I just wanted you to know I'm here and I see you, and I get it if you're feeling a lot of things about this, because so was I. I think it's gross. Especially because at the end of the book, she ends up falling in love with him and accepting that this is just what her life is. And I think that goes against all the work that survivors of things like this go through. So I don't know. I just love you little lambs, and I don't want to make sure that I'm responsible with this kind of thing. This book so much. Anyway, he leaves her again. No words, no aftercare. She's just left alone to deal with all of this stuff we just talked about. Finally, he turns, the door gently clicking shut behind him. For the second time, I'm left alone, decimated and in ruins. And again, I let the tears fall freely while I work to pick up the pieces. This is sexual assault. This is rape. And he doesn't feel bad about it. Chapter 19. I don't regret it. God damn, just bust right out with it. Not any more than when I stuck a gun in her cunt and made her come. And I know how fucked up that is, to take something without consent. To take something without consent. I know that's what I'm fighting against every day. So he knows he's raping her. He knows he's taking something from her without consent. He also compares his own actions to those of the predators he takes down daily as his career. I don't need to say that Zaid Meadows is a rapist, abuser, a criminal. He's telling us that himself. But self-awareness only goes so far because he won't stop. He doesn't learn anything from it. He's chilling in his Mustang, like you do, sporting a raging boner and blue balls. Angsty. Hot. I don't think I've had blue balls like this since high school when Sarah Fortin jacked me off in the locker room. It was the first time a girl touched my dick and I didn't even get to finish because coach walked in before I could shoot my load off on her pretty tits. Again, we're supposed to like this guy. Show me where. Show me where I'm supposed to like him. Don't leave me alone. Essay aside, this man is meant to be the desirable book boyfriend of our dreams. I would rather him kill me, thanks. This man is insufferable in every single way. Like, I hate this guy. Jay calls. They have a quick chat. Zaid strikes up a match and lights a cigarette while they're on the phone. And Jay also gives him shit about smoking. Part QAnon fanfic, part PSA against smoking. I swear to God. Satan's affair is on the radar for some reason. So he hangs up with Jay and starts researching Satan's affair, that carnival. And I know what you're thinking. What does Zaid think about all this? Don't you worry one more second. I'm gonna tell you. This is another moment where I think I just envision being on a date with this man and just being absolutely, oh my God. It comes to town every single year and I've never bothered to go. Haunted houses don't scare me. Not when I see true horror every day. That makes sense, I guess. There's nothing a couple of made up monsters can do to horrify me more than the actual monsters polluting this world. Understood. Humans don't need to decorate themselves in gory makeup and fake blood to be scary. It's the inside of us, the darkness that lurks beneath the surface. That's what's truly fucking terrifying. I get it. Thank you. Fast forward 2 days later, he texts her some more because he just can't resist. Plus, he's horny as all get out. I beat my dick like it was an opponent in a boxing match. I'm so fucking tired of the feel of my own hand. Beat yourself to death next time. Just end it. Then she texts back that a stalker killed her great-grandma because they're buds now. Chew on her clit like bubblegum one time. Casual combo with your stalker and rapist. Old friends. She clearly has a tone though. Like she assumes that the stalker killed Gigi. She calls Ronaldo a fucking psychotic freak. And Zaid is like, not all of us. Wink. She thinks she knows me already, but my little mouse couldn't be further from the truth. I stalk her because I'm fucking addicted. I'm fascinated with every move she makes, every word that comes from her pretty pink mouth. And now I'm addicted to her scent, her taste, the way she sounds when she's scared for her life. Just as much as I'm addicted to the way she sounds when she's begging for more. You can keep talking about it, but that doesn't make it like more normal or less of a fucking crime. It's not something I can explain. When I saw her, I fucking nearly fell to my knees with need. And I will have her. But not because I'm psychotic and delusional. Psychotic and delusional? Who called you that? Honestly, this sounds like something a delusional psychotic would say. Whatever. He's hot. He's hot. I'm not gonna make a goddamn shrine of her and convince myself that we're destined to be together by the gods or whatever weird shit people believe these days. Stupid. Anyway, they go back and forth with this shit for a bit. He was a crazy stalker just like you, Zaid. And Zaid's like, you done? Dumb. No, I'm not done either, by the way. Thanks. They decide to switch to a phone call because they're best friends. She asks if he killed Arch, tells him about Max, and that she's kind of on edge with him slinking around. He's not bothered. Of course he's not. Which bothers her because all of this is happening because of him. She starts to say this, but he cuts her off to like self-righteously blow his own dick. He's just so damn likable. I swear. Let me stop you right there, baby. Because you seem to forget that I had a gun in your pussy not too long ago. Did you think teaching you how to act right is the only lesson I'm teaching with that? If you think low-life criminals are scarier than me, then I haven't been clear enough, have I? Next time you place them above me, I'll be sending their heads to your doorstep next. So dreamy. Also, next time you place them above me, I'll be sending their heads to your doorstep next. I need a break. This chapter 20 is just Zayd confronting Max, so we're gonna go quickly. When I reached the landing, I stopped short on the half-moon couch as Max, with his legs spread and a waitress bouncing up and down on his lap while his head is kicked back with his eyes closed. Her skirt is hiked up and her thong pulled to the side, bearing her eating up Max's cock for all to see. I arch a brow, unimpressed with how low she has to bounce. Addie would never have that issue. This is tiny dick energy. I don't care if it's written that his dong is huge. This is the tiniest dick energy that has ever dick energied. Also, what is the woman supposed to do? Bouncing so low. You're supposed to go low. You're supposed to get all up in... Listen. Let's just move on. Yeah, okay. To sum it up, he goes to the club. The music is loud. He gets past security because of course he does. Zayd tells Max to leave Adeline alone. Max threatens Zayd. Zayd shows Max a video of his father, Max's father, tied up and gagged somewhere. Max chills the fuck out. I don't have the goddamn time to deal with small fish when I have great whites floating around in my ocean. Too bad for them. I'm a fucking megalodon. Tiny, minuscule, microscopic dick energy. We follow Zayd through a PDF file ring poker game. Smoky, dark room filled with half-dressed women, old, gross men playing cards. You know, the scene is set. The men are putting their cigarettes out on the women because they're bad people. He offers me a cigar and I take one, but I'd let Detective Fingers finger blast my ass before putting it out on a girl's arm. I'll have to figure out a way to stop him without breaking his neck if he tries again. Sure, I just AR'd Adeline with a gun in her own home. But I draw the line at cigarette burns. I hate this book. They let him play a hand, and apparently Zayd is a master poker player because his dad was a professional poker player and taught him everything he knew. Family values are important. These people are vile, but our boy is above it all. Come here, sweetie, Mark says to the girl, patting his hand on his knee for her to come sit on. The wedding ring on his finger glints in the light, as if to shine a light on the fact that he's a skeevy son of a bitch. Addie won't ever have to worry about that shit when I marry her. What? That's for damn sure. She doesn't have to worry about it now. The only pussy I want wrapped around my cock for the rest of my life is hers. That is so sweet. Put it on a greeting card. How will she ever deserve a man like this? But let's take a second. I've got some concerns. When I marry her, it doesn't make any sense for this man's character at all. He pulls his proverbial mask into place further by being gross with a waitress and causing her to spill his drink. Zayd, enraged but only pretending, lols, escorts her to the back to deal with her. He radios Jay, has him send a car. They scramble the cameras. I crack my neck and ready myself for a very long night of shooting the shit and becoming BFFs with a PDF file. I thought he was the megalodon. Why can't he just annihilate them? Well, because, boys and girls, we wouldn't get QAnon porn if he just did that. You guys are acting like you don't even want QAnon porn. What is this? Chapter 21. Daya comes over. Adeline talks about stew. I'm stewing. Nana used to make this god-awful stew when I was young. It smelled like a dumpster fire and tasted even worse. My attitude is about as foul as that right now. All that just to tell me she's in a shitty mood? She finally tells Daya about what happened with Zayd, and Daya asks the question we're all wondering, but not really because we know. Was it consensual? And this is where I get tripped up because it wasn't. It wasn't. But had he kept going, had he stripped his clothes from his body and fucked me, I can't say with absolute certainty that I would have stopped him or that I would have wanted to. You wouldn't have been able to anyway. He's a megalodon. She goes on to confirm it wasn't consensual, but also that she enjoyed it. He didn't hurt her, but he did. She's just very confused, which is understandable and pretty textbook when it comes to surviving violent sexual assault. Oh, I forgot about this earlier because I hate it. Zayd mentioned before that he was treating her like this because he said he didn't want me to fall in love with something fake. He pretty much said he's showing me who he really is instead of lying to me about it. The fact that he thinks he can make me fall in love with him in the first place just goes to show how deranged he is. So he's showing you that he's a rapist and expecting you to fall in love with him because of how honest he's being. Shut it down. Daya's like, that's oddly nice. No, it isn't. They talk some more about Gigi's death. Adeline is convinced that Ronaldo is the culprit. He has to be because all stalkers are bad. If this wasn't already fanfic and a PSA against smoking, I would also sprinkle in the fact that this is a stalker apology manifesto. Daya is worried that Adeline only thinks that Ronaldo killed Gigi because she wants to solve the murder and pin it on Ronaldo so that she has a reason to hate her own stalker when she clearly doesn't. Adeline's getting a headache. Me too, actually. She's not entirely wrong. Maybe I just want to be able to say that all stalkers are crazy and that it's not possible to fall in love with one. I want to be able to say it's never happened before, and I want to say it's absolutely impossible to find myself in a loving, passionate, and healthy relationship with a person who invaded every aspect of my life unapologetically. As much as I hate to say it, my shadow might not be wrong either. The man has a magnetism about him that rocks me to my core. He shifted my entire life out of balance. He scares the fuck out of me. But just like watching a horror flick, it thrills me too. He was right when he said that if he had approached me in the bookstore and took me out like a normal man, I would have fallen for him. The way he carries himself, the way he speaks, his passion, irresistible. And he's also right that I would have fallen in love with a lie. I would have been devastated. I just wish he wasn't such a bad guy. But then he'd be a different man. A man you might not be able to love. Doesn't matter. I refuse to love my shadow, and I'm not gonna fuck him either. What happened 2 nights ago was sexual assault, and I'm not gonna spin it any other way. So he knows he's raping her. She knows he's raping her. We know he's raping her. And now Daya knows that he's raping her. Also, had he just met her at the bookstore and asked her out to a meal, he eats. He was literally out searching for a meal that night when he met her. So if he had just asked her to dinner, how would that be a lie about who he was? He's eating and he's hot and he likes her. And then they could have had a, what's that? Conversation about some of the darker things he might be interested in doing with her, to her. You know? And then it wouldn't have been a lie. It would have been a consensual, kinky, dark relationship that they both entered into willingly and had a choice. But that's not what Zayd wanted. Zayd wants to sexually assault and R her. Anyway, Daya says that she found out some info on the Salvatore family, a very powerful family back in the 40s, who Ronaldo was apparently working for. They found a grainy picture from the 40s, but somehow were able to see Ronaldo standing in the back with a watch covered in blood. I don't know. The plot thickens to a bone broth consistency. Literally, there's nothing to this book. This book is so stupid. Adeline and Daya get drunk. Shocking, I'm sure. I walk her to the guest bedroom and help her get into bed. I'm not much help considering I nearly send us both crashing to the ground a time or two. When I try to help her get her jeans off, "How are you gonna get yours off?" she asks, staring at my jeans. I wave a hand. "I'm sure the stalker will help me." Her eyes widen comically. "If he puts his peen in, you record it. I want to watch it later." Funny. He shows up, of course, and she's belligerent. She tells him that she likes calling him Kitty Cat, but she would like to know his real name. And he's like, "Yeah, Kitty Cat wouldn't sound very good if you were moaning it." And she just goes on to pretend to orgasm and moans out the name Kitty Cat. I hate these people. "Zayd," he whispers against my lips. "That's the only name that will ever leave your lips from now on, especially when you're making that little pussy feel good. And when I'm making that pussy feel good, then you can call me God. Please leave."
Hello from the void. I am neck deep in editing this, and I wanted to pause for a second to say 3 things to you. 1, I want to be very clear that I am not making fun of victims of sexual assault. I don't think that you guys would assume that I was. I think it's pretty clear that I am simply making fun of this book. However, I did want to say that very plainly. 2, please like and subscribe to this video. And if you're able to, sign up for my Patreon. It will encourage me to continue doing things like this to myself for your enjoyment and entertainment. I would really appreciate it. And finally, the reason that I came out to my garage to record this voice note for you is that I just read a line that I totally missed the first time because I was so bogged down in all the other stupidity. "Oxygen evaporates from my lungs." And as a person who graduated from the 1st grade, I know that evaporation is a process where liquid turns into a gas to be absorbed into the atmosphere so that it can be part of the water cycle. And I could not let the opportunity to be petty about that go by. So I hate this book so much. It is absolutely stupid. I am really hoping you guys are enjoying this. Okay, I'll let you get back to it. Bye.
More painful back and forth. Adeline gets offended because he doesn't want to fuck her while she's inebriated. And he says that she would probably throw up if he put his dick in her mouth anyway. Offense. In response, she calls his dick puny and says that she'd only vomit because of how disgusting it is. So what's the logical next step here? If you said Zayd's gonna whip his dick out and prove it isn't puny, you'd be right. Congratulations. Your prize is 20 more chapters of this. No need to thank me. So maybe his dick is the exact opposite of puny and would surely kill me if I decide to choke on it. And maybe it wouldn't be the worst way to die when it's the most mouth-watering thing I've ever seen. No. Mouth watering. I had a calzone a few weeks ago. It smelled so good that my mouth literally watered. Never seen a mouth watering dick before. Little trigger warning for potentially transphobic language in this next bit. Adeline wants to chop off his dick because, quote, he wouldn't be a man without his cock, which is an odd choice. It made me feel weird, but am I reaching with this? I feel like this was insensitive at best. Please let me know in the comments. It just felt weird. Anyway, he proceeds to jack off on her face, holding her head in place as she begs him to let her go. Finally, I feel the terror penetrate my thick skull because this man could easily kill me. My bravery is sucked out of me like a vacuum, and I melt into a puddle of fear and hatred. You want to act brave? Then I'm going to show you exactly what happens to smart mouths. You're going to swallow my cum like the fucking bad girl you are, and I don't give a fuck if you don't like it. Clearly, that's the theme of the entire book. He asks what his name is, and she starts to say kitty cat, so he slaps her with his dick. Not hard enough to actually hurt her, but you know, still. So she says Zaid, and he orders her to open her mouth. She refuses, so he slaps her with his dick again. Harder this time. I hate this. I don't have a dick, so I can't confirm this thought, but I have hit someone, you know, with my hand before, and the harder you hit the thing, the more it hurts your hand. So what is this? Anyway, rope sitting in her mouth. Love that so much. Yes! She's crying and hating him, but like, not. I don't know. You want to know the best part? I was going to tuck you into bed and leave you alone tonight, but you seem to forget that just because I'm wholly yours, little mouse, I am not a nice man. We didn't forget. Shadow chapters are the bane of my existence, but Chapter 22. He's out stalking Adeline in public. No mention of whistling this time, but who knows? He stumbles across one of them senators named Mark, who's involved in those leaked videos that we talked about with the child sacrifice. They walk together. He can't shake Mark, and he's also given Mark a fake name. Now, hold on. I want you to guess. It's a fake name. You would want it to be, like, obscure. Throw him off the trail, right? So what's the fake name? Brilliant. So they end up going to the restaurant that Adeline is working on her manuscript at. Zaid manages to keep them away from her and her away from them for a bit, but then Mark sees Adeline, and Adeline is so hot that he's enamored. I really think it's the freckles. He pulls his phone out and starts to take a picture of her, but Zaid has to interfere and reveal that Adeline is his girlfriend, and she doesn't like to be bothered while she works, so that's why they didn't say hello. He's like, I respect your space. Bitch, where? When? Mark pushes him more, so they head on over there. Remember that Adeline is a victim, okay, and was unaware at this point that Zaid was even following her. Now all of a sudden he plops down next to her with a skeevy old man. They sit together for a while. Mark is weird, Zaid is creepy, and Adeline's just doing her best to go along with everything, probably because she's scared, and Zaid is just so dang proud of her. All right, Mark, let's leave my girl to get back to work. She's going to hear me call her my girl for a long fucking time. Next we'll graduate to my wife and then the mother of my children. One day she'll get it in her head that she's mine. Yeah, cool story. There's a bit more back and forth. Mark goes to the bathroom, and Zaid is rudely and aggressively explaining to Adeline that Mark is a danger, so now she's in danger, and to be cool. Be cool! Mark returns and asks Adeline what she's working on. She tells him about Gigi's case, which I think is brilliant. After I hear that this man that I'm eating near is incredibly dangerous, I like to divulge personal family details. I think that that's just smart. Mark says he remembers the case because his dad was a detective. His dad's name was Frank, and he wasn't allowed to work on the case because it would be a conflict of interest because Frank was John's best friend. John being Gigi's husband. Does this matter? No, but I'm trying to be thorough. Zaid takes a moment to make this all about him and tells us that the only reason that Adeline is wanting to solve Gigi's murder is to prove something to herself when it comes to him. So she can, quote, cement the fact that all stalkers are murderous psychos and she can finally hate me and shut out for good. She has been shutting you out this whole time. It just doesn't matter because you don't care. And two, stalker apologist attitude. Why? She wants to prove all stalkers are bad people. Yeah, I think that that's true, isn't it? Anyone who stalks a person, breaks into their house, leaves roses around, is a bad person. What the fuck is this? Anyway, Mark uses this new information that she unpromptedly gave to him about her family to manipulate her into coming to an event at his house. Oh, I don't know, Addie says, the discomfort renewed. Last thing she wants is to pretend to be my girlfriend any longer than she has to. Wonder what she's gonna do when we're married and her belly is swollen with my child. See, guys? Not all stalkers are vicious, murderous psychopaths. Some of them just want to rape someone and then marry them and pop out a gaggle of rugrats. Darling. She says that she'll think about it and Mark finally leaves. Adeline's pissed, but says that she'll go with him because she wants this information. I thought she was the one who manipulated people. She says she'll go with him to this thing and that afterwards they can pretend to break up so that he can, quote, actually get out of my life while you're at it. Once again, asking him to leave her the fuck alone. If you're expecting me to say we're going to break up, you're more delusional than you believe me to be. There will never be an end to you and me. Great. Adeline's like, I hope you go to jail and are sentenced to death. And they're in the parking lot at this point, and Zayd just grabs her ass and lifts her up and says, will you be my last meal, baby? And I threw up in my mouth. I need a bigger mouth. More vomit would fit into it. Their sexually charged interaction gets them some onlookers, one of which is a child, which is fantastic. They part ways after this. I wish I could say for good. I had to take a break and get some water. Dehydrated from all the pussy weeping. Chapter 23. Daya is incensed that Adeline agreed to go to this event. When a character like Daya is the voice of reason for a book, I mean, all bets are off, really. This is when Daya reveals that she may potentially work for Z, which we already knew because I told you. So let's take a moment for Zayd's creativity. Okay, his name is Zayd. His hacker group is called Z, and the alias that he gave these corrupt government officials who like to kill children is Zach. The man is creative. And Adeline's like, oh my God, could Zayd Zach really be Z? Yeah. And Adeline is like, don't worry, Daya. Zayd will protect me. I know he will. And Daya is like, hold my drink because I'm about to sing this man's praises, even though he rapes you. Honestly, I don't doubt that, Addie. If he is who I think he is, he's doing some good in the world. And he's clearly obsessed with you in a very unhealthy manner. But from the sounds of it, he's not the typical stalker where he's out to murder you. I just think he really, really wants to be with you and is handling it in a very creepy fucking manner. The stalker apologist manifesto. He's obsessed with you and he stalks you, but not in an icky, gross way. And he's doing so much good in the world. A man's good deeds do not diminish his abhorrent behavior. I don't care if he adopts every stray puppy he's ever seen. He murders and sexually assaults people. She gets dressed in a dress that Zayd sent to her, and she wasn't going to wear it, but she decided to wear it out of spite. Just to see the look on his face. He picks her up in his Mustang, and she's worried that tonight will make her hate him less. I'm worried for a lot of reasons. He steps out in a suit and, quote, oxygen crystallizes in my lungs because he's so hot. But really, see a doctor. This is when it changes a little bit. It twists from non-con to dub-con, if anything. He grabs her hand and inspects it because just trying to picture what ring would look best on your finger. Makes no goddamn sense. Extremely evangelical family values, and I don't understand why. I hate him. I want to kick him till he's dead. She's like, I'd say no. And he grabs her throat. Love it? No, I snarl, but it tastes like a lie. You don't own me. You never will. He's forcing a narrative. She's saying no. It's a love story. Then he asks her to take off his belt. God bless. Why? To wrap around her neck and choke her. Duh. He forces her to her knees and she shows initiative because she just swallows that dick down whole. Yeah. These last few chapters are definitely when it slides from non-con to dub-con because he's wearing her down and manipulating her and abusing her into submission, which is so cute. She rakes her teeth along his dick, and he threatens to literally break her jaw. She calls him a predator. He says, your pussy is salivating as much as your mouth. He comes. She swallows. He slides a rose in her hair, and I die a little. I suck in a deep breath, coughing and hacking as I try to regain everything I lost. Air, morals, even some of my hair. But I didn't lose my damn dignity. Not when I took control of that situation. This was on my terms, not his. Congratulations. They dust themselves off and head to the event. They have a medium drive ahead of them in his Inspector Gadget Mustang. So she asks him to explain all the bullshit. He does. She's like, OMG, you're Z. He takes a second to brag about building the company from the ground up. She finally asks him a decent question. How can you work to save women while actively stalking another? 1,000 points for Adeline, but these are Whose Line rules, so the points don't matter. He gives her an entirely predictable answer. I've never done this before you. You're the only one. You're special. Scoffing, I turn my head out the window and spend the rest of the car ride in tense silence. The atmosphere has only worsened, and I can't tell if it's because I now know he's some vigilante saving children and women from evil people, or if it's because he's confessed that he's only ever turned into a psycho for me. Still, both prospects have shifted the way I look at him. All that brain power out the window. Chapter 24, they arrive. Adeline takes a second to feel sorry for these poor women. Here's a wacky thought, and I want you to stay with me on this because I'm not sure, and I refuse to go back and check. But excluding the children specifically, because children can't give consent, is it possible that maybe, just maybe, some of these women are just sex workers? Like, they chose this career path, they're happy with it. Shitty men come and go, but it's part of the job. Is that not a possibility? All of it reads very savior complexy and condescending to sex workers in general to me, especially in some parts where he's just wandering through a gentleman's club and he like has pity for the women that are on the poles and stuff. He's viewing all of them from a victim lens, but we don't really know if all of them are victims. Like, obviously there's a difference between sex trafficking and sex work. However, I don't trust this book because it doesn't understand those differences between, like, I don't know, kink and abuse. Sex work is a career path that women do go into. It just seems weird to me. Sound off in the comments. I'd love to have this conversation. Anyway, Adeline walks in judging the house, which I find hilarious because her house, ugly as shit. They mingle. Apparently Zayd is like working the room, even though Adeline is supposed to be the manipulator. I, on the other hand, am not a natural. The social anxiety licks at my nerves, keeping my heart rate well above the normal pace. I smile at the strangers and laugh at everything they say, doing what I do best and manipulate people's emotions with my words. I pretend they're all avid readers and the words I'm speaking are printing on blank sheets of paper for their greedy eyes to consume. So are you good at it or not? I vote no. Mark and his wife walk up, say a friendly hello, and Mark invites them to meet them later in his office so they can discuss Gigi and Frank and all that. Says he'll send a butler when the time comes. Cool. Chapter 25. Shadow can't take one more goddamn second in this stuffy ballroom, or he will start shooting people. So he takes Adeline to a cinema room that they have in the house. He takes a minute to feel proud of her because she made everyone in the room fall in love with her. I'm still confused on whether this is true or not. Like, is this an unreliable narrator? I don't know. It's not. Yes, but no. Adeline is like, stop this. We shouldn't be sneaking around. We'll get in trouble. And Zayd's like, I know she's scared and that makes her pussy wet. Shut up. Hydrate. The cinema is playing one of the latest horror movies and Zayd forces Adeline to watch it while sitting on his lap. A weird dynamic pops up here and I just hate it. I don't know if I hate it more than everything else that I already hate about this book. We'll discuss that later. Zayd just randomly asks her about her father, followed by asking if she has any daddy issues, to which she says no. I groaned audibly when I read this because I just knew what was coming when he asked her that. But here we go. Well, if you didn't before, you do now. Are you saying you're my daddy? She sputters out incredulously, bringing my attention back to her. That's right, baby. And you're my good little girl, I croon, sliding my tongue across my lower lip and looking at her like, things I want to do to this woman. Things that would show her just how insane I can be. First of all, you've been doing that. But the daddy thing, I want to be blasted into the fucking moon. Please. Please. There's a lot of stigma around this particular kink. I have no issues with it. I'm not here to kink shame anyway, even if I did have issues with it. But this isn't a kink book. So I have issues with it being in this book because I do not trust this author to handle kink correctly. She hasn't been. This man is an actual criminal, a creep, a stalker, a sex offender, a rapist who has made it his entire life's work to rescue children from sex trafficking. And now he wants to play daddy to Adeline. This is nasty. Like, not in general. In general, it's fine. Please understand that. I'm not kink shaming, I swear. In this book, with these themes that are this heavy-handed about sex trafficking children and sacrificing them for blood rituals and all of this other stuff, PDF file rings, you want to mix in a daddy dynamic just thrown in there haphazardly like that? This is what I'm saying. I don't trust it. I don't trust the author to do this well. Please stop. Anyway, back to the movie. He forces her to sit on his lap and watch the movie, all the while with her. She isn't wearing panties, and he almost has a heart attack over it, but she's like, I'd rather have wet thighs than a panty line with a dress like this. He forces her to watch a violent horror movie while finger banging her. Her pussy pulses, juices gushing from her slit and over my fingers. I groan, fighting the impulse to plunge my fingers into the depths of her pussy and feel her come all over me. My tongue darts out, looking along her neck, inhaling her jasmine scent, tasting the saltiness from the thin layer of sweat coating her skin. She tastes so fucking delicious. My mouth waters with the need to lap up the arousal soaking my hand. I deny myself the pleasure, keeping my hand glued to her weeping little cunt. He constantly talks about her weeping. And it still isn't weeping more than I did when I read this. Loud, wet noises war with the sounds from the movie as my fingers dip in and out. She's so wet. She's creating a pool on my slacks and the seat beneath us. Staccato moans burst from her lips. Now, first of all, leaving her juices all over the seat in a home of a man who is a danger to her that you plan to murder doesn't seem smart. But again, this is me thinking. Second of all, staccato moans. Staccato means short separated sounds. Like, what are staccato moans? Shush! Off. Oh my god, I hate it. She comes. Juices flood so heavily that he feels them spilling past his hand. Then there's a slight wet spot between my legs, but luckily my black slacks conceal it. All this talk about juices flowing, spilling, pooling, rushing. And there's just a small little wet spot on his slacks. Unreliable narrator. Chapter 26. I have 0 highlights for this. I both emotionally and physically checked out. They meet Mark in his office when the butler comes and gets him. He divulges more insight into his father, Frank, John's best friend, who was secretly in love with Gigi. Frank knew about Ronaldo, but still thought that John may have killed her. John had a really bad gambling problem. Maybe he owed the wrong people money and they killed her. Blah, 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 blah. Spoiler alert. It was Frank, the cop, the detective, and John's best friend. He killed her. Mark gets drunk, discusses the leaked video, and we get a bunch of drunk writing with a lot of extra S's just to hammer home the fact that his speech was slurred. Mark says goodbye, and he will be seeing Adeline. Zayd threatens to kill him. Adeline's like, I don't condone murder, but maybe I do. Lol. A week later, Zayd's choking her, but he's not raping her this time, guys. He's teaching her self-defense, so she's less of a liability. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet of him? They tussle and banter, and it bores me to tears, weeping yet again. He said something about how there's a camera in her bathroom, and to be sure to holler his name when she uses her shower head later, gives her a rose, and leaves. She masturbates in the shower, but only because she wanted to. I've been at this for hours at this point, so I'm having a noodle break. Jason's Deli, if you'd like to sponsor me, just let me know. Chapter 27. Another chapter with no notes. Bored out of my mind. She catches Zayd like loitering out on her balcony, and she's like, come in. And I can't help but imagine the stupidity of this all. Like, will he always be like this? Married with kids, still slinking around? Like, imagine I'm sitting here. I'm Adeline, and she's just trying to have her breakfast. Zayd, we've been married for 7 years. Please come sit down and eat your eggs. Like, anyway, she massages his shoulders because he's tense. Why? He lost a kid today. They talk about it. I'll spare you. You're welcome. Adeline says, well, death isn't the worst thing that's happened to her. Yikes. She says she hates him, but she wants him to lay with her anyway. Normal. She tries to fuck him, and he's like, no, I don't feel good. Because the first time I fuck you, I want you to have all of me, not just bits and pieces. He takes a breath. I don't know why I said it like that. I'm not whole right now, and I can't worship you when all I see is her. Silly goose. Only Zayd gets to decide when it is and isn't time to bang. Disgusting. But he's so dreamy. If any of you ever want to pay me to watch me eat, we can discuss that also. Let me know in the comments. I'm not above anything. Adeline lays down with Zayd and thinks about how she'll eventually have to put a stop to this. Sure, Jan. Flash forward. God, I can't do this. There's 20 more chapters here. She and Daya discuss the fair and get drunk. We go to the fair, and I'm going to speed demon my way through this because it was absolutely ridiculous. It's a big old mess, and like I've been saying, a million years long for no reason. They go to the carnival. They notice a weird girl dressed like a broken doll. We find out later her name is Sibby. Whatever. Mark and his pedo friends from the leaked video show up. They're having a group date. Boys night. And they approach Adeline. She lies and says that Zach's in the bathroom or something. They all chat. They head into the dollhouse. They see a doll with a bloody knife. It's scary. They run. Another doll comes crawling out from under a bed. And as they run away, Adeline notices that she's wet. Hot stuff. Why are you wet about just whatever. That's fine. It's fine. It has to be, doesn't it? As they leave the house, they hear someone scream, "Jackal!" I don't know why. The end. JK, chapter 28. Aren't we lucky? Shadow again. He shows up and notices Mark eye-fucking that broken doll girl. Shadow follows Mark as he follows Sibby. I think we learn that's her name later. I don't care. Zayd says hey to Mark, but cuts him in line to catch up with Adeline. He enters the pink dollhouse. What the actual hell? I mutter under my breath, momentarily distracted by the eyesore this house is. If Addie and I have a daughter, I hope she has some goddamn sense and prefers black. It feels like my eyeballs are physically cringing from all this pink. Did Barney come in here and shit everywhere? Jesus fucking Christ. First of all, Zayd, Barney's purple. Why would his shit be pink? Second, all black everything. Edgy. I get it. We get it. We get it. It's 27 chapters of this. I'm so fucking bored. He works his way through the house. He runs into that broken doll again. The one that he said, quote, isn't a child by any means. I'm not a girl. But could still be sold. I glanced down, taking quick inventory of her. She's wearing a thin nightgown, leaving little to the imagination. I barely noticed her nipples poking through the thin fabric. No, what my eyes lock on is the outline of a knife strapped to her thigh. Noticed her nipples enough to talk about them though, huh, Zayd? You know the saying about like, the lady doth protest too much? Maybe he's having to infiltrate the PDF file ring because, you know what? I'm just gonna leave that there. The girl, Sibby, is standing in his way, and she seems to think he's a bad guy too. He is, Sib. Great job. She's also talking to people that aren't there. She's clearly hallucinating. He calls her crazy. Crazy! Love that. And this little girl must think I'm like Mark and here to hurt them. And well, she's not entirely wrong, except I'm only interested in hurting one of them. And by the time I'm done, she'll love the way I make her scream. Is she crazy or is she correct? She calls him crazy for preying on women, and he doesn't disagree with her, but corrects her because he's a douche. That just makes me disturbed, not crazy. Hush the fuck up. Ugh. She tries to kill him. She doesn't, but bravo for the effort. He, no shit, punches her in the nose. This man. She falls down, he yells out Jackal, and he runs off, but notices Mark and the others entering, and they start talking about grabbing Adeline and Dea and putting them in the van. He starts laughing, alerting him to his presence in the house. The four men's heads snap towards me and bleed dry of whatever color was left in their faces. The four of them are sweaty and look like they have watched their worst nightmares come to life. They'll soon realize that I sit on the fucking throne and their nightmares bow to me. I'm far worse than any monster they could ever imagine. And yet, he still had to play into their whole thing instead of just killing them. Whatever, Megalodon. The doll shows back up, Zayd is annoyed, and that makes two of us. Ooh, chapter 29. Daya sits down for a rest, and Adeline is like, I'm gonna go in the House of Mirrors. She also tells us extensively about the House of Mirrors, as if it isn't fucking obvious what a House of Mirrors would entail.
Mirrors. A room full of mirrors.
The House of Mirrors has always been one of my favorite places. It's an elaborate maze of mirrors, and very difficult to find your way out of. It's one of the biggest buildings at the fair, and they fill every inch of it with
mirrors.
James, would you be a deer and yeet me into a mirror? Don't hold back. She goes in. She's having fun. Zayd shows up. He taunts her. She's annoyed. He tells her to run because if he catches her, he fucks her. Spoiler alert. He catches her. Ain't that something? I was ready to give myself over to him when he emerged from my balcony door and came to me with a heavy heart. The man put some type of spell on me because he was hurting. All I wanted to do was make him feel better. Give myself over to him if that was what would help. I love the fragments. But I know that I would have woken up the next day and hated myself because I would have slept with a stalker, a murderer, and a man who has forced himself on me on several occasions. I would have slept with a man who doesn't respect my boundaries, my personal space, or the word no. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, that's exactly what's about to happen. How do I accept that? How do I toss away the moral compass that has been directing my entire life? For a man that I should loathe, but I don't. I just don't. He's all those things, but he's also one of the most admirable men I've ever met. The devotion and passion he has for saving women and children stolen away from their homes and lives. He's doing something massive in the world and making an impact in a substantial way. I can't even begin to put into words the way he makes me feel. Cut it out with this shit. Literally, like for real. I simply do not care. He catches her. There's some words spoken. I don't care about that either. You're not fucking me. I refuse. Pushing against his chest harder. Because you're afraid you'll like it too much, he concludes before delivering a sharp nip on my neck. I swear to God. My back arches. Goosebumps rising on my skin from the chills. Because you know that you'll become as addicted as I am. No, because I don't want you to. I don't want you to. Who cares though? Is that enough proof of rape? No? Cool, that's fine. I got more. So you're gonna be my bad girl tonight. Lie to my face and act like your pussy isn't aching to be filled up with my cock. I feel the blood rush to my cheeks, a mix of anger and embarrassment. Not everything has to come down to physical attraction, I respond finally. Maybe my body wants you, but up here, doesn't. He makes a big dramatic speech about how loving her is like being trapped in a house of mirrors. Chapter 30 begins with dirty talk, and I want to die. Just like his words, I feel my pulsate as my panties gradually dampen until it's exactly like he said, dripping. He wants to rape rape you in a house of mirrors. You want to know what I'd do if someone walked in and watched? I would let them watch. I would let them watch me claim you as mine and own every inch of your body. And then I'd fucking kill them. Hold on, calm down. Whoa! My c*** would still be wet from your cum as I'd slice their throat for even daring to look at what's mine. You said you'd let them. He's a monster, inside and out. Still, I feel my panties becoming drenched. Shut up. It's gross, isn't it? But she's chronically wet anyway, because she got that wop. So, I don't know. I choke on air when I pull down his pants. Breathe. It's just dick. He asks her to get on her knees. She says no, that she doesn't want him to ask her, and she starts running. So this is DubCon. Maybe even a little bit flirting with CNC here, because what? I mean, they're communicating. She's involved in how this plays out? Whatever. He chases her. He catches her. He slams her down onto him. It hurts. Doesn't fit. Blah, blah, blah. And he says, maybe one day you'll let me treat this like glass and show it all my love. I have not one single clue what that means. She says, oh my God. He says, that's right, baby. I am your fucking God. I'm so glad I'm an atheist. He seats himself inside me, his balls slapping against the sensitive nub. LOL. Nub. Balls? I am 14. He keeps calling her a bad girl, a good bad girl. I hate it. Especially because like 20 minutes ago, he punched an actual girl in the face. Whatever. Bridge. Water under it. The hand in my hair travels down to my throat and squeezes tight while his other palms splay across my flat stomach. Tonight is just practice. But I promise you, little mouse, this body will be carrying all my babies one day. This is so effing weird. Goddamn, court ordered vasectomy this man. She tells him she's on birth control, and he says, for now, and I want to die. Dia calls for like the millionth time. Worried sick, because it's been 2 hours of her in this house of mirrors. 2 hours and 2 chapters. She just left Dia out there for 2 hours to get her shit rocked by a psychopath in a house of mirrors. Best friend of the year. Normal people don't fuck for that long, do they? Yes, they do. She's coming back to Earth and hating herself for letting this happen, as if she had a choice. And Dia is immediately like, why the fuck do you look and smell like you just got fucked? 3 guesses, buddy. Chapter 31, I hate shadow chapters. Hate them. Before he went and fucked Adeline in the House of Mirrors, which I don't know if you knew is like a house full of mirrors. He knocked all Mark's crew out, and Sibby corralled them into a place they wouldn't be found, and they were supposed to meet back up at midnight and deal with him. How cute. Send them on an adventure. They've decided to team up against the real enemies. Sibby directs her henchmen, her hallucinations, to hang back because she and Zayd got this. I've got nothing but hate in my heart for these people. There's banter, it's stupid. He endearingly calls her a demon slayer. He says that the 4 men are looking at him like he's the boogeyman. But wait until I tell him who I really am. I'm sure their faces will look like Casper's. If by like Casper's you mean darling in every way, then that's really fucking stupid. If you mean something more along the lines of white as a ghost, why the name drop? Leave Devon Sawa and Casper out of this. Fighting ensues. Sibby starts stabbing somebody like so vociferously that Zayd has to pull her off of him. He takes a moment though to be misogynistic, which this whole book is. I haven't said it until now. See, I know that you're smart enough to figure out some of these things on your own. I don't spell everything out for you. Now you're gonna stop me from demon slaying? She squeaks, her voice pitched so high it nearly makes me cringe. God fucking women and their screeching. When you take the unaliving R and the SA out of the equation, this man is still a tube sock filled with hot garbage. The fact that people like him. I dated my fair share of garbage, though no murderers or anything, but you know, we all have our things. He and Sibby continue to interrogate and torture them. Mark finally spills the beans on the super secret club. It's a private gentleman's club called Saviors. You go in, you go down to the dungeons, and you witness all the child sacrifices. He also somehow plans to protect Sibby, but also pin all these murders on her. Sense? Logic? Not in this book. We're still with Shadow in chapter 32, and I love that for us. Sibby takes the fall for all the murders. We get some backstory on Sibby, like how her father was a culty maniac and her mother herself, which caused Sibby to snap and then murder her dad. Zayd said this is insight into why she's so broken and to how violent and crazy she is. I personally love the ableist bullshit. We didn't have enough nonsense going on here. Gotta throw the ableism in there. But you should never miss an opportunity to further stigmatize people who suffer from mental illness. We get another nonsensical, noble, but disgusting moment from Zayd about Adeline. Close your mouth, honey. So again, close it. close your mouth. You'll catch a fly. She doesn't know the danger she's in, but that will soon change. I refuse to hide the truth from her, and I'm sure she's not gonna like hearing that our self-defense lessons are gonna be ramping up. Now I just have to figure out how to keep my dick out of her during those lessons. It won't happen. This woman, your rape victim / lover, is in danger of being kidnapped and sold into sex trafficking. So you need to train her in order to keep her safe, or at least give her some sort of defense strategy, but may have to fuck her in the middle of all of this. Priorities. Also, since when do you refuse to hide the truth from her? Fucking lunatic. Boom! We're at the Saviors. The main room is massive. The stage is right in the middle of the room. A large pole front and center with a girl swinging around it, completely naked. Her tits bounce as she lifts herself up, wrapping her long legs around the pole and bending backwards, her breasts on full display as she gyrates her hips. I don't bother looking at her body. Just did there. But that's what you just did though. He walks through the building and details it, but I will give you the cliff notes. Everything is either black or red. It's like if Hostel had a hot topic at the exit. He gabs with some more creeps who know him as Zach because Mark, put a good word in for him at the place. He let Mark live, I guess. I don't know. Because remember, he's the Megalodon. He's God. He's the Grim Reaper. But he can't just nuke this issue. He had to infiltrate it first. Makes total sense. They're getting to know him and asking his interests. I shrug a shoulder nonchalantly and take a sip of whiskey while pulling my phone out with my other hand. I pull up a picture of Daniela, a girl I saved 5 years ago. She's deep in a safe house, as she was an orphan with no home to return to when I rescued her. It's an innocent picture of her dressed in Barbie pajamas. What sells the illusion is the haunted look in her eyes and the bruises marring her skin. The picture was taken after we first rescued her. She was 10 at the time, and I made sure to ask her permission before showing this to anyone. This is the first time I've had to befriend before I killed them, but I knew that if I was ever going to convince them that I was like them, I needed to show proof. Hi there. Children can't give consent. She was 10 when the picture was taken, right? So if you asked her then, she was still a child, a minor, who can't give consent. But now it's been 5 years since you rescued her, so let's say you're still in contact with her and you reached out to ask her if you could use a photograph of her on the day of her rescue from a violent PDF file ring in the future. Just show it off, And she said yes. That would make her 15. She's still a child. And children, what? Can't give consent. Children cannot give consent. Anyway, they see the picture and they're like, you're perfect for the initiation. Which I think is stupid too. All you have to do is show up, show a picture of a child, kind of allude to the fact that you like to fuck kids, and you're in. This doesn't sound like the locked down secret dungeon society underground that is so impenetrable that you needed to infiltrate it and blend in order to take them down. It sounds pretty fucking easy to me, but that is me thinking again. I just never learn. Chapter 33, we're back with Addie. My God, panicking because people that she's been seen with, people that she's been inside their homes, are now dead. Stressed. She says she needs to end things with Zaid. Agree. He's going to keep endangering me. It doesn't matter how he makes me feel. Blah, 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 blah. Cut it off. Kill him. I don't care. Speak of the devil. He shows up and they banter. She's like, I don't want you here. And he's like, you're a liar. She's like, I'm not your prey. And he's like, then why do you let me consume you? Consume me. I would like to be gone. She runs from him. He chases her. Stop it. I choke out, attempting to get away, but his grip holds firm, tightening around my throat until black pinpricks dot my vision. You don't want this, baby? You don't want to be full of my and discover a new religion every time I make you come? Oh, man. You have a lot of faith in your abilities, I croak. He chuckles, as deep and dark as the ocean. You need faith to be a believer. He cups me between my legs. This pussy deserves to be worshipped. I hate it. She repeatedly says stop, that she hates him. She calls him a monster. He slams her into a wall. Stop it. She fights him off. He doesn't stop. She says she doesn't want to sleep with him ever again. He still isn't getting it, so she attempts to knee him in the balls and runs off into the woods, barefoot. Seems like she's terrified and seems like she doesn't want to do this, but she trips and falls, and he catches up and grabs her. She's telling him no repeatedly and is concerned for her own safety. So, remember how noble he was earlier by not keeping the truth from her? He chooses this moment to tell her. She is very scared and very obviously anxious and just on edge about everything. She's fighting him off, she's crying, and this is the moment that he drops the bomb on her that she was already marked, and it wasn't him that brought them to her, and she needs him to keep her safe. What a guy. If that isn't manipulative, I need you to just bury me in the earth. Like right now, just dig a hole, throw me in there. But Adeline is so stupid and a perpetual victim, which is not a dig. She's literally a victim of violence. So she calms down a little after this. It softens her, just as it was intended to. I have nothing to say. No argument. I've been holding on so tightly to the notion that all murder is wrong, but I need to let that go. Because Zayd is right. Whether he came into my life or not, I would always end up in danger. And I can't get upset every time he kills someone who meant to harm me. Yes, you can. What? If that makes me selfish, then I don't care anymore. Whether I like it or not, Zayd isn't going anywhere. And it's far more exhausting holding on to morals that do nothing but fight against the one thing keeping me safe. Gag me to hell. Gag me. Banter. He's great at sex. She doesn't want it, but I'm so good. Blah, blah, blah. Chapter 34. He strips her bare and makes her in the woods. He carries her back to the house. She playfully bites his neck and he slams her into a tree. The light from my front porch is just piercing through the trees when he gives in, slamming me against a tree trunk, my bare back scraping against the rough bark. I forgot she was naked still. Jesus Christ. His jeans are undone in record time, his bursting free from the confines and driving up inside me before I can process it. But he doesn't relent. Of course he doesn't. Me against the tree until I'm clamping down on him, an orgasm tearing through me that nearly causes permanent eye damage from how hard they roll. Me too, Adeline, but for different reasons. They bang, it was monumental, I don't care, nor do I believe it. Time for a pillow talk. What are you feeling right now? He asked softly. My breathing escalates. Confined. Trapped, he volleys back. My mouth tightens because while a part of me wants to say yes, the truth is, I don't. I feel safe, protected, treasured. One day, you will realize that you're not trapped in a prison, he murmurs roughly. You are in my church where I'm your God and you are my equal. I'm not a jail, little mouse. I'm your sanctuary. If he's your God, you aren't his equal. Does that make me a goddess? Baby, you rule the fucking kingdom and I'll gladly bow to you. Stop it. Stop. Just stop it. Both of these assholes kind of deserve jail time for this like weird, cringy jerk circle. I'd like to RSVP no. I don't want to come. I do not want to come. He tells her that the next time they fuck, that she will be in love with him as they're currently fucking, and he asks her, quote, to come and to let me feel you fall in love. That isn't, you can't, I just, Chapter 35, they fuck all night long. Another video was leaked, possibly from the night he was at the Saviors. Count me in as who cares. Adeline brings him coffee. Baby, if you can't keep a plant alive, how are you going to keep our babies alive? She smacks my chest. Calm down, Zayd. No baby talk. I don't even like you like that. So this is another what moment, but like times 1,000. I got no fucking clue how to deal with that. They ponder about how strange it is that Gigi had a stalker too. And she was in love too. And maybe they're just reincarnations doing this over and over through lifetimes. Puke! One lifetime is enough for this story. I beg you please, no more. Can you imagine what it would feel like to have my love for that long? No! She swallows, her eyes pinned on the water beyond the cliff as a shaky breath loosens past her lips. Do you know what it sounds like to drown? The fuck? Tell me, baby, what does drowning sound like? I'd like to know this too, because if I had to guess, it sounds like muted screaming, like lungs filling with water, gurgling, your body shutting down, maybe some ringing in your ears. Like the first breath of air after being trapped underwater. It's a sound of both pain and relief, of desperation and desire. When you've gone so long without oxygen, that first breath is the only thing that makes sense, and your body takes it in without permission. Okay, that's not the sound of drowning then, you fucking dunce. That's the sound of coming up for air. It's the sound of not drowning. Isn't it the most exquisitely painful thing you've ever felt? I jerk her head closer, wringing another gasp that skitters across my lips. Skitters? Scared me. Banter? She asks about his life. If you're expecting a tragic story, you're not gonna get one. My parents were incredible people who loved me and supported me. They died in a car crash when I was 17. One might argue that that is tragic. My parents' death was heartbreaking, but an accident. Aside from losing them, nothing bad has ever really happened to me that would lead me to slaughter evil people for a living. I make my own choices in life, Addie. That's all there is to it. The roses. Why the roses? My mother, her favorite flowers were roses. She always had them all over the house with the thorns clipped so I wouldn't hurt myself. One year, I told her that I would be sad when she died because all the roses would die with her. So she gave me a plastic rose and says as long as I had this rose, she would never be truly gone. I guess I wanted to see roses all over your house too. Maybe because you feel like home. The first rose was left after he literally saw her once. Also, I like dead things. I give my grandma dead flower arrangements because I like the idea of being able to keep them forever without them dying and turning all gross and mildewy and stuff. And I have done that since I was little. And shame on you for with my memory of that. Ruined it. It's gonna take me some time to fully accept some things, Zayd. I can't tell you how long it'll take, but I can tell you that I'll try. But what I can definitively accept is you saving children and girls. Her lip wobbles. I admire you more than I can say for being one of far too few people willing actually to do something. Wow. First of all, that was horribly written. Where was the editor? You know that SpongeBob episode where he like cries into his own eyes? Daya shows up. Bless this mess. She comes face to face with Zayd for the first time. What the hell? Is this him? Have you been gossiping about me, little mouse? Did you tell her how big my cock was? How embarrassing. He is so goddamn gross. Addie's eyes pop comically. Her hand curls and swings into my chest. It feels like a little piece of bread thrown at me. No. If it wasn't for the small figure charging toward me, the loud stomping would be a clear indicator of the storm coming my way. I turn and swoop out of the way of another flying fist, this one packing a lot more punch. That one might have felt like a whole loaf of bread. Yuck! Shut up! God! I can tell this girl can hit, but fists don't affect me these days. I've grown too accustomed to the bite of a bullet instead. Edgy, dark, violent, tough. Die! I laugh, catching Daya by her arm before she flies ass over teacup over the balcony. What does that mean? She wouldn't look so pretty with her face bashed in and her skull cracked open. He's a good guy. A guy you can admire. A guy the world needs more of. A guy who rapes you into submission. A guy who envisions your best friend's brains bashed in. I hope you understand that Addie never really stood a chance. Don't blame her. Addie crosses her arms, huffing at me, finally finding her voice. All I had to do was piss her off. I make my own decisions, Zayd. Quit acting like I didn't have a choice. I just smile at her and think what she wants. Whatever gets her pussy willingly wrapped back around my cock, I guess. She never had a choice. He's placating and condescending and just the fucking worst. But whatever gets his dick wet, right? High five, brother. Chapter 36. Diane and Adeline have to hash this out, which is simple because rape isn't bad as long as you murder PDF files on the side to make up for it. Get your puke buckets ready. But knowing that Zayd is your stalker oddly reassures me. I never knew him personally, obviously. I didn't even know what he looked like. But what he does, it's incredibly admirable. He puts his life on the line every day, walks into the lion's den himself and saves a lot of innocent souls. He's helped countless people and taken down so many rings already. And I don't have to see the videos to know that Z takes them to heart. Does he take them to heart or does he just really like them? A note arrives, no return address. Who cares? Something about Gigi. Again, no one cares. Frank killed her. Let's move on. Daya says that she found out how Ronaldo died. He died of broken heart syndrome. No, the fuck he didn't. Broken heart syndrome, quote, mostly occurs following severe emotional or physical stress. The condition is temporary and most people recover within 2 months. Google's free. Shadow again. The hits just keep on coming. I was there. I watched them drink the blood of a little boy, an 8-year-old kid sacrificed on some stone altar to welcome the new members of a devil-worshipping, blood-drinking pedophile club. My feet are asleep and I wish I were too. Satanists don't do this. Stop. So he's about to bust up in the society for reals this time. Jay is to watch Adeline. We get this lovely bro moment. I want your eyes on Addie tonight as well. If something happens, you tell me immediately. He chuckles. Do you think she'll like it when I stalk her too? I pin him with a glare. You watch her for any purpose other than ensuring her safety. I'll cut your dick off and feed it to you. No one stalks her but me, rawr. His face scrunches up in disgust, but I don't miss the flash of terror in his eyes. Just kidding, dude, he assures, his hand raised in surrender. I like my women willing. Most people do. Well, most people who aren't criminals. A wicked smile forms, though the heat in my eyes remains. Sounds to me like you don't understand a woman's body well enough to know when it sings for you, even when her mouth tries to resist. I feel like there's a word for this. A 6-year-old girl is led into the room and someone says, quote, dinner is served. Chapter 38. Daya and Adeline find out some more stuff about Gigi. Frank did it. Let's keep going. Adeline gets drunk and goes to bed sad because she misses Zayd. She's missing her rapist. How long has he been stalking me for? 3 months? Not very long at all. In fact, that's such an insignificant amount of time, it almost makes me sick. Same! There's still so much I don't know about him. What's his favorite color? Does he have allergies? I hope he's allergic to all my favorite foods so I don't have to share. Or at least I hope he doesn't like them. More for me. What is this? What is this? I hate this. And I hope I don't like his favorite foods, because if I do, I'll probably eat off his plate too. Please. He probably wouldn't mind. And that softens my heart into a pile of mush, because somehow a man that wouldn't care if I ate his food fell in love with me. That's so fucking cute. She gets horny over how cute all this is and how murderous he is. Next, I rip my t-shirt over my head, leaving me in only my matching bra and panty set. It's white and silky, and that insane part of me wishes Zayd were here to see it. He'd probably think I look so innocent, an angel and a demon, forbidden but drawn to each other anyways. That could be a book. Wow. Meta. She bangs one out and then goes to bed. Chapter 39. Excessive moments of creepy PDF file behavior before the blood sacrifice of a child. Casual. I will not be reading this. Zayd has the little girl sit on his lap and requests private time with her. The FBI bursts in and saves the day. How old are you, Shortcake? 5, she chirps. I'll try to find your mommy and daddy, okay? If I can't, I'll make sure you're safe. She nods her little head, her brown eyes now latched back onto me. Then will you be my daddy? Fuck. Can't say I've ever been asked that one before. I force a smile. Adoption isn't out of the question, but that's something I'll have to consult with Addie first. She'd be your mommy after all. Since when do you consult Addie on anything? How respectful of him, though. Like, he's such a marshmallow. OMG, I love him. I love him. I fucking hate him. Chapter 40. We are going quickly. Okay, so the FBI fake arrests him, and then he's released and heads back over to Adeline so he can, fuck her. But the dumb bitch has the audacity to be asleep. I could have tried to fuck her while asleep, but I decided to hold off on that until Addie admits her love for me and freely accepts mine. Until I can fuck her without a fight. Though, I think some part of Addie will always fight me. Although I've taken advantage of Addie on several occasions, at least her being awake and coherent allows me to watch her body's reaction. Doesn't make it right, but her body has always wept for me. I'm weeping. Again. Yeah. They bang. He tells her to run. She does. He chases her with a raging boner. Again, this is a horror novel. That's not sexy to me at all. Like, you're just flopping down the hallway after me. He catches her, and then comes buckets. More pillow talk. The little girl I saved, Sarah, she asked me if I'd be her daddy. Addie's head snaps up so quickly, she comes close to breaking it. Breaking her head? Her mouth flops. What did you say? I shrug. I didn't really get to say anything. She had to leave so I could go get fake arrested. She blinks. Would you? Adopt her, I mean. I wouldn't do anything without your say-so, but yes, I would. I wouldn't do anything without your say-so. I'll take liars for 200. She swallows. Why do you need my permission? You think I stalked you because I want a quick thrill? No, baby. It's you and me forever. Which means if I become a daddy, then you become a mommy. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? What? I hate this aspect of the story and his character. What is this bullshit about being a father? Stop it. Chapter 41. He's at another ritual because he just can't get the fuck enough of them. They bond over pursuing women who don't want them. Women like to run, but they like being caught even more. It's like, is he even pretending in order to blend in? No, he isn't. He's just blending in because he belongs here. Anyway, he saves the girl somehow, but the bust is a setup and it ends on a cliffhanger with Jay being there and he's like, it was a setup. And then he sees somebody behind Zayd and he goes, you? Chapter 42. So Gigi's murder has been solved and the cops confiscated like the journals and stuff, but Adeline made them pinky promise to get them back. 26, guys. She's 26. Oh, at some point it was revealed that Nana stayed in the house because of all this. I don't care. Nana also helped cover it up because Frank threatened her. And the mysterious letter with no return address was from Adeline's mother, that bitch, because she knew Nana's secret. This whole thing makes zero sense, adds nothing to the story, is completely pointless. This could have been half as long as it was. Adeline realizes that she's falling in love with Zayd, her stalker and rapist, and is so worried for his safety. Daya texts urgently that something's wrong. She's upset. She needs Adeline to come over immediately. Adeline speeds over because she's the best friend that anyone could have. And a car is following her, causing her to crash. She's kidnapped, and it literally fades to black. Hey there. You've reached the end. I cannot believe it's finally happening. I thought this day would never come, but yes, we are at the end. And I did originally record an ending to this that was a little rambly, so I thought I would do it over again and try to do a better job. I wanted to kind of sum it up, touch on some of the points, wrap it up in a nice little cohesive, succinct way for you so that we can put this shit to bed. This was one of the worst reading experiences of my life. Aside from the QAnon fanfic, the hashtag not all stalkers undercurrent, the lack of ghosts, and the excessive weeping, it was structurally lacking, badly written, and entirely too long to be enjoyable. So let's touch on a couple of key points and my final thoughts, and then I'll tell you my rating. I'm sure you can go ahead and guess it, but let's do it anyway. Just humor me, okay? We'll start with Adeline, our main character and rape victim throughout the entire book. As a main character, Adeline was really vapid and boring, which was a real shame because I think there were a lot of aspects to her personality that could have been explored further to give her some depth and connect us to her. She's a very successful author. She's fixing up this creepy house. She has weird relationships in her family. I think that Adeline existed as a placeholder main character that things either happened to or around, and not much thought went into her one way or the other. Our other main character, Zaid, was unlikable from the very first chapter we met him in. We know he's a murderer and a rapist, yes, but he's also a delusional, violent dickhead with a bloated sense of self-importance and a pathological hard-on for himself and the work that he does, which is really weird considering that the work that he does is dispensing of PDF file rings and rescuing children. That felt gross enough, but it got even grosser when he started pretending to be friends with the PDF files that he was investigating after literally chapters of expositing to us how indestructible he is. That made no sense. But then add on the daddy thing and this sudden but very urgent need to have children with Adeline and the weird lovey-dovey tender moments that he had with the children he was rescuing. Like, he kept one of the children's photographs on his phone. I think his career path was an overcorrection for the man he truly is. He's vile and unlikable, and I know so many people like him, but there is good news for the Zaid stans out there. I guess it's good news. It's bad news for the rest of us, but men like this exist. You've probably met some. Men that don't respect your boundaries. Men that don't like fiction because it can't teach them anything. Men that don't recognize the word no as a full sentence. I did learn something from this fiction book, though. It's that I dislike these kinds of men in fiction just as much as I dislike them in real life. This kind of male love interest leading man will never appeal to me, even if he weren't a murderer, rapist, and latent pedophile. Let's move on to their relationship. This was another train wreck aspect of the book because it was abuse the entire time. Adeline never has any autonomy in this relationship. From the roses, to the assault, to the need to knock and wife her up, she had no say in any of this, so it's hard to call it a relationship. It's even harder to call it a kinky relationship because in order to have kink, you have to have established trust, communication, and consent. Not to mention that all of this was taking place in the matter of 3 months. Zaid relentlessly pursued her, assaulted her, and wore her down to the point where at the end of the book, she gets all giggly, girly, doe-eyed, hair twirly about his favorite color and what he's allergic to, and oh my god, maybe he'll let me eat off of his plate, as if he didn't spend the last 3 months violently assaulting her. I don't care if he's allergic to pineapple. He's a rapist. I don't care. And for the entire book, we hear about how much of a bad boy he is, how he avoided asking her out on a normal date because he didn't want her to fall in love with the lie. But then towards the end of the book, we find out that his ultimate goal with her is to marry her and have children with her, which one might argue is a normal goal to aspire to in a relationship. So that just cancels out everything he said before. Ultimately, what he wanted to do is rape her into submission. And so I guess he did. Congratulations. I don't know. Congrats. Let's talk about the side quest, or Gigi's whole thing. I never cared about Gigi. I never cared about the affair. None of that was interesting. And honestly, if you went through the book and you didn't read a single sentence of that, it would not impact the story in any way. The only thing to come from the Gigi side quest was the not all stalkers attitude, which was a weird addition to an already fucked up stupid book. Speaking of things that don't matter, the ghosts. Now, when I picked this up and started reading it, back when I was still stupid, the word haunting and the fact that she was in this weird, creepy house really had me thinking we were going to get some good ghost action, and it fell completely flat. It was non-existent. I've had more paranormal activity in an apartment I lived in 2010. What a waste. The smut is the last thing I wanted to talk about, although I don't really know what there is to say about it because every sexual encounter, aside from Grayson, was either forced onto or coerced out of Adeline, a traumatized woman. Naturally, that will color an experience a little bit, but objectively, the smut still wasn't good. Constantly talking about how big his dick is, how big he is in general, how he's a god, and every time she has sex with him, it's like discovering a new religion, and can't forget about that pussy weeping. It just wasn't great. Plus, he was chronically hard, like a little slab of granite walking around, which again makes me very concerned about the career path he chose. Ultimately, I found no enjoyment in this book, and it has plagued me for months at this point. It was rough. I'm so tired. And while I am very glad that some people read this and had a good experience, I was not one of them. So my final rating for Haunting Adeline is 1 little star. I don't even know what to do with myself now that I'm done. Like, what do I do? Do I go outside? Should I run? I don't know what to do. This has literally consumed my life for months. Like, my poor husband, my sister is sick of me. She's sick of my shit. I am looking forward to getting back to reading things that make me remember that reading is fun, because I have forgotten that. So if you have any like lighthearted, easy, and well-written books that you want to recommend me, please leave them below. I am so looking forward to enjoying a book again. I appreciate you so much for being here. This is the longest review I've ever made. This is my magnum opus of this channel, at least for right now. Who knows what the future holds? Who knows what you'll vote on me to do in the future? Speaking of that, you guys owe me for this. If you enjoyed this video and want to see videos in the future, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. But if you're feeling really generous, I do have a Patreon and a Ko-fi. I don't know how to say it. So if you're feeling super generous, you know, head on over there. I'm done. I'm out. Thank you so much for sticking around this long. I really appreciate it. I think you guys are the greatest. And I hope to see you in the next tragic review.